President General Manager of TNN, Kevin.
It's with great pleasure that I announce, gentlemen, start your engine.
And with that, at a somewhat leisurely pace, the field roars to life here. You're looking at the pole sitter, Rusty Wallace, for today's UAW-GM 500. And the fans, after a change of clothes, after the morning showers, are set to go here. You see a lot of dryness in the track as you look from turn one up the longest straightaway in all of NASCAR racing.
Yeah, Mike, you know what's going to happen here is they're all going to get out there. They know the track's not totally dry yet, but as we all know, these headers on the race cars that you see underneath Rusty's car right there, they're going to put out a lot of heat, and they're going to start getting some of those wet areas really dry a lot quicker than if we just sat here a little bit longer.
And a lot quicker than the trucks by themselves would dry them, these big wide steamroller tires and the heat from the exhaust and from the exhaust pipes. We'll get the track in a raceable condition pretty quickly, and this is the first time the cars have been on the track since practice yesterday morning.
Well, Mike, we have two things. The racetrack might get dry, but pit road will stay wet. So they really have to be careful when they do make their first pit stops coming down pit road on a wet racetrack like that. So the racetrack right now is getting gray places all over it where it's drying out. So we've got to get on with it pretty quick here.
And from the tower, we can clearly see turn two, the tunnel turn, where about half an hour ago it was all lost in the mist, didn't exist. And here, too, the pit road is the widest in the business, and the pit stalls. If you saw our show yesterday, we talked about those. There's a lot of, they're the longest because the pit road is so long, the stalls themselves are. So getting in and out of the pit shouldn't be much of a problem.
Well, you know, one thing about this racetrack that everybody talks about, and Buddy was telling me earlier that, you know, the elevation is really high here, so it's really hard to get rid of that overcast or, you know, any dew that's falling because we're so high. And we're up here in the Pocono Mountains. I mean, there's been deer on the track earlier this morning, so it's hard to get rid of this weather. You know, we're going around 1, 2 o'clock right now, and it's finally burning off. So Pocono is probably one of the most difficult race tracks to get, you know, everything burned off and get going so we can race.
We talked about new drivers here. When you first came here, what was your impression of learning to get around this place?
Well, it's a really difficult track. You know, if you're a first-time driver, you really need to come here and test because this is one of the most difficult tracks. It can be a really fun racetrack to drive, but there's a lot of curves thrown in there. You know, we got the overdrive where we're shifting, going down the front straightaway. You're shifting back into third. Driver here is like Darlington. You get better every time you run here, and it's a difficult place. I look forward to some of the rookies running better halfway through the race.
Here's what will happen. NASCAR has fired the engines, and they will send the cars out to get a little heat in the cars, in the tires, and into the racetrack to dry the track. And don't know if they've made a decision as to whether they'll send them green, yellow, or whether these laps simply will not count, which is what we're led to believe. If that's the case, before they line up to go green, they'll come in, everybody will top off the fuel tanks, and we'll be set to go racing. So we may have a few non-counting laps here just to get things going.
I was thinking the funniest thing, the first time I ever come to this racetrack, I guess it was the first Winston Cup race here. I sat on the pole, and they said, "How'd you do it?" And I said, "I don't have a clue. I lost it when I come by the flag and got it back straight when they dropped the checker, but the car ran super good, but I did lose to the King that day by about half a straightaway here. He made a better pit stop right at the end and beat me. I was trying hard, though. I had grass flying, smoke flying, but to no avail."
Just like a road course.
You know, you're looking inside these drivers' faces right now. You know, I know exactly what they're thinking. The anxiety's been built up. You do get into a mode. You know, you come to the racetrack, you know, race morning. You know, you get up early in the morning and you're ready to race, and then you get this curveball thrown to you. So then you got to rethink your thought. And right now you've seen Earnhardt and Jimmy Hensley. They're ready to go racing, and they're getting focused.
Cars are rolling here at Pocono. Here is your Sears Die Hard starting grid for today's 500. On the pole, Rusty Wallace, second of the year, 17th of his career. Outside pole, Ricky Rudd, his first front row start of the season with his own team. Row number 2, Mark Martin, sixth time this year he started third or better. Outside row number 2, Jeff Gordon, recent winner of the Coke 600 at Charlotte. Row number 3, Kenny Schrader finished second here 1 year ago. And outside in sixth position, Brett Bodine, the sixth time this year he started in the top 10. Row number 4 to the inside is Ernie Irvin, who has a 163-point Winston Cup lead. And outside, great qualifying effort for Dick Trickle, his first top 10 start this year. Row number 5, Ted Musgrave, has a pair of 5th place finishes at Pocono. And starting 10th, Michael Waltrip ran second here in 1988, his best career finish. 11th, rookie Joe Nemechek. 3rd straight race he started in the first 6 rows. And in 12th, Darrell Waltrip, a 4-time winner here at Pocono. Row number 7, Wally Dollenbeck, finished in the top 10 last week at Dover. And outside, 14th, Kyle Petty, defending champion of the UAW-GM 500. Row number 8, Terry Labonte, won here in 1989. And 16th, Bill Elliott, a 4-time winner at Pocono. In the 9th row, Jimmy Hensley, his second best start of the 94 season. He'll roll off 17th. Next to Sterling Marlin, the Daytona 500 winner, 10th in the point standing. And row 10, Dale Earnhardt, who won here last July. And 20th, Greg Sachs, who finished 7th here in 1990. Only one round of qualifying. Second round rained out, so everybody stood on their first round times. It put John Andretti, who's been in 3 IndyCar races here, and Dale Jarrett in row number 11. In row 12, Hut Strickland, who was 9th last week at Dover, and Harry Gant, who won here in 84 and 90. Row 13, Ward Burton makes his 9th career start, and Morgan Shepherd has 3 top 5s here. Row 14, Bobby Labonte, who finished 6th at Bristol, and Todd Bodine, a rookie. Row number 15, Jimmy Spencer, 4th here last year, and Jeff Bodine, a 2-time Pocono winner. Row number 16, Loy Allen, finished in the top 15 his last 2 starts, and Bobby Hamilton makes his 6th start here. Row 17, Lake Speed, 7th in the points, and Dave Marcus, his 31st race at Pocono. Jeff Burton, the rookie point leader, and Derek Cope, a former Daytona 500 winner. Then Steve Grissom had a strong run at Talladega, finishing 10th, and Mike Wallace, another rookie. In row number 20, Rick Mast, who was 3rd at Rockingham in the spring, and Rich Bickle makes his 5th start of the year for Harry Melling. And the provisional starters, Chuck Bown, his first race at Pocono since 1980, and ARCA champion Bob Keselowski makes his Winston Cup debut today. They're going to go 5 laps and then make a decision whether to start under green, yellow, or just what they will do here at Pocono as the cars are rolling, and we'll be right back. TNN Motorsports exclusive live coverage of the United Auto Workers General Motors Teamwork 500 is brought to you by Split Fire, the patented performance spark plug. It only costs more till you use it. By cold-filtered Miller Genuine Draft and Miller Genuine Draft Light, taking the country by storm. By Ford and your Ford truck dealer. Ford Trucks, the best never rest. And by Haviland Formula 3 Motor Oil. Add more life to your car. Welcome back to Pocono International Raceway. What'd you call it, buddy, out in front of the field?
That's E.T. Elmo truck.
Oh, Elmo Langley's the pace car driver. Excuse me, pace truck driver today. And there's big signs leading into Pennsylvania. It says the speed limit in Pennsylvania is still 55. Well, that's the pace truck speed today and the pit road speed today, but now they've increased. They said they're going to pace the field here for a few laps at 80 miles an hour to try to get the track fully dry so we can go racing. We're going to go down to pit road as the cars come around back along the front straightaway. Glenn Jarrett.
I never understand why you won't throw it to me when the car's on the backstretch, Mike. But anyway, a lot of activity going on down here. The crews are readying the pit, trying to dry them off as much as they can. But standing by with Billy Engel, the crew chief on Ricky Rudd's car, who's on the outside pole. And Billy, one thing you got to be concerned about, the last time that Ricky was in the car was when he qualified.
That's right, Glenn. Basically, we ran about 10 laps of practice, and 2 of those were during the qualifying times. We put a new engine in. We don't know what that's going to do. We guessed at the amount of tape we need for cooling. We are pretty much guess at the setup, and we just go off the past experience we've had here and what the track would do, under the rain conditions and what it would do with the temperature conditions. So everything's a guess, but there's 40 other teams here that had to do the same thing.
Well, one quick question more, Billy. Is the qualifying setup that much different from the actual race setup? We hear people talk about that all the time.
Well, I have found working now with the Fords that it is a little bit. Like I say, we went back. We got just a little bit conservative. We unloaded pretty fast, so I feel good about that. We'll see here in a little bit.
That they will. And now Randy is with Larry McReynolds.
Well, they're talking to Ernie right now. Larry was just talking to him a second ago, asking him about the track conditions. They got blowers out on the pit road trying to dry pit road. That's one of the most dangerous points. Of course, pit road speed, that makes it nice that they come down at a nice slow pace. What did Ernie say about the track? Is it ready?
He said the corners is really pretty dry. I think they've really worked hard on the corners, but the straightaways, especially the long pond straight between 1 and 2, he said it's pretty wet. And as you said, pit road, which is the most dangerous situation, it's going to take a while for it to dry.
How about your car? You only had about 10 laps of practice. I know Ernie's ready. What about the car? Is it right?
Well, you know, we're just going to have to see. You know, we had to dwell a lot on past history. We didn't get to run the July Pocono races, you can well remember, so we had to go back all the way to a year ago. Had to use a lot of Ernie's past experience here, and we're running a little bit different chassis here than we run here before, and we've had to really dig deep into Loudon, New Hampshire notes and Phoenix, Arizona notes, and that's all we've done for the last 2 days is sift through notes.
Okay, I think if they got to make a guess at it, they'll be pretty close, guys.
I think you could be right. Folks, if you'd like to participate in today's telecast and have questions that we can pass along to our reporters on pit road, or perhaps answer here in the booth about this Winston Cup race, or even about the sport in general, the call is free. Call in your questions to Nashville, and they'll relay them to us here in the booth. 1-800-451-7331, and that number will be operational all during today's telecast. NASCAR has indicated that in 2 laps, they will put the field under a green-yellow condition to further dry the track, and laps will begin counting. That means we're not too far from being able to turn the cars loose under the green flag here.
You know, you heard them talking just a second ago, Mike, about the racetrack being so different. They had to pull out notes from 4 or 5 different racetracks to set them up. Reason for that, 1 and 2 is real tight. It's a bank corner, kind of like Darlington, 1 and 2 in Darlington. Then you run up the back straightaway, and you go into basically a flat corner, much like a road course. Then you have another short straightaway. Then you have another flat corner that's got a real long arc in it. So you have to set your car up for the flatter track. Don't worry about 1 and 2.
That's one way to approach it here. Let me take a second and correct something I said at Dover on Saturday as you watch Richard Petty confer with Jimmy Martin and the SCP crew on a Saturday race, talking about Ricky Craven and the great horsepower he's enjoyed this season in his DuPont Chevrolet in the Busch Series. I credited the wrong motor builder. Jim Michael at Performance Technology in Wakarusa, Indiana, has done Craven's V6 engines all year. He also does Reggie Ruggiero's engines on the Modified Tour and has a lot of top drivers under his wing, and that new V6 program is one that Jim is very proud of, and I'm sorry that credit went in the wrong direction. So my apologies, and certainly a great job by Jim Michael with Ricky Craven's team. They come past, 1 to go, and will go in a green-yellow condition. That means the laps will start counting, but the drivers cannot improve their position.
You know, Mike, I think what we're going to see here is we've got a lot of experienced race car drivers in this field. It's not so much that. It's guys that have the same race cars that they had here last time. I know, for instance, Rusty has got the same car that he ran here last time, and some other people through the field. Everybody is very knowledgeable and has got a lot of setup. These full-body stock cars, every car they got, you got 7 cars, okay, in your stable, but not all of them are molded exactly the same. So, you know, with just qualifying and limited testing, it's going to be interesting to see who really got luckiest, because they're all knowledgeable, and it's going to see who hit it.
You can hear the crowd cheering in the background just a little bit. The sun has come out on the front straightaway here, so we might have an improving condition in a hurry.
Another follow-up from Dover. Anybody that works on your car, are they talking to you after the comments we made last week?
I just told the truth a lot of times about, you know, usually when I wreck a car like that, we give up for that particular day, because I run a very sparse schedule most of my racing career, because I did a lot of testing for tires and stuff. So, you know, we didn't run for points, so we pulled out if we had a car going up that day.
Well, I went up at Gary's Technical Monday. He said I could have an appointment for an oil change in about 21 days. Thank you very little. Right. 42 cars will start today's event here at Pocono. 200 laps, 500 miles is the distance. Alan Kulwicki holds the race record, set in 1992. And from the flag stand, Doyle Ford puts out the green and yellow flag. That indicates that laps have begun to count here. And so, as they are now officially under a race caution situation, and you see the gray in the track as it is drying up quite a bit, we'll take this pause from Pocono and be right back live on TNN. Welcome back to Pocono. You can see the mountains in the distance as the cloud cover is lifting somewhat here. The cars are under a green-yellow situation. The first lap has just been completed. Rusty Wallace credited with leading it. He's led 9 of 13 races this year. Buddy indicated they had to take out notebooks from different tracks to figure out Pocono this time. Here's why. Pocono's unique layout incorporates features of 3 famous racetracks. Turn 1 is steeply banked with a sharp entry and gradual exit, like turns 3 and 4 at Michigan. Turn 2, the tunnel turn, is a 90-degree, 8-degree banked left-hander, much like the corners at Indianapolis. Turn 3 is a very long, very flat, very sweeping corner, much like the fairgrounds at Milwaukee. Three different turns, different bankings, different radiuses, 3 different length straightaways. What a different racetrack. Like 3 tracks in 1.
Boy, he said it all right there. It is definitely a different racetrack. It's the only major speedway that you have a gear change in the front straightaway.
Yeah, and you know what's going to happen today? You know, when we get the race going, there's going to be momentum. You'll see people that are faster through the tunnel turn. You'll see people passing back in 3 and 4 until everything gets settled out. There's cars that are going to be in faster some area and cars faster in the other area. So it's a difficult racetrack, and somebody come up and say, boy, you're really getting through that tunnel turn, but you're not getting through 3 and 4. So it's a tough place to set up for.
Let me explain what I meant when I said a gear change. You run the front straightaway here in 3rd gear. At the end of the front straightaway grandstands, you pull it back into high gear for momentarily there, because the RPMs that you need to get up the short chutes, you need 3rd gear. So then going into turn 1, you shift back in like a road course.
It's a very unique racetrack, for sure. 2 laps complete here. We're under caution at Pocono. Proud to be here for the first time on TNN for a Winston Cup race. We'll be right back. Yes, and today one of those 170 miles ran right through the infield here. We had a bit of rain. We also had deer on the track yesterday. Ken Schrader was out in the pace car chasing a fawn, and the fawn led 4-1 when we went away to break. Let's go down to Randy Pemberton.
Well, early on, Kenny Wallace was talking about what these drivers might be thinking about as they rolled off here to get this race going. But I'll give you an idea. Our Winston Cup points leader, Ernie Irvin, they take the green flag and the caution at the same time. He's discussing a rental car drop charge at Allentown, Pennsylvania after this race is over. So we're talking about absolutely cool Ernie Irvin. Now Larry McReynolds, of course, he's still drying off pit road. He said that was obviously a concern to make sure that Ernie gets stopped nice and easy here on pit road. But talk about your cool Winston Cup points leader right there. Not even worried about it. Glenn Jarrett?
Well, Buddy Parrott has been in constant communication with Rusty Wallace. And, Buddy, what's he saying about the condition of the track?
Well, he said the track is it's doing a lot better. You know, the corners are looking good. There's one place that some water running out of the grandstand evidently, or across the track. They need to fix that. The front straightaway's still a little damp, but it's getting lighter. It's going to be good here in the Miller Genuine Draft. Ford's fixing to set sail here in a minute.
Well, I hope he doesn't have to set sail. That's on the water. Yeah. Maybe he means take off and leave these guys.
Larry McReynolds looked like Bill Murray cleaning house in Caddyshack.
Yeah, you heard him talking about, they were real cool about drying everything up and talking about rental cars. When that green flag dropped, you can believe these guys will be business as usual.
You know, you think about the experience of all these teams. Why would a race car team load a blower up on their truck? It's because we've seen everything in Winston Cup racing, so they're loading up and say, hey, throw a blower on the truck, because if it rains, we want our pit road dry.
Now, those particular blowers are the ones that they put on the cars in the garage area in front of the grill to try to cool them down when they come in for practice. So those aren't just the pit road model.
Right. You know, something I wanted to point out earlier in the show, Buddy had a really good talk about, shifting down the front straightaway. Let me tell you that between 3rd and 4th gears, the ratios are so close for you fans out there. It's not like your street car. Like if you shifted from 3rd to 4th, it wouldn't be a deep downshift to where you would feel the car pull you. Between 3rd and 4th, the ratios are so close, you don't even use the clutch with these Jericho transmissions. You just go down in the 3rd, you push it up, and you don't even feel it. So you can stay consistent, and the car can stay smooth.
That was an 18.8-second pit stop for fuel and a new fan blade on Larry McReynolds' weed eater there. It's a blow dryer, or whatever it is. I think that was Bill Broderick's blow dryer. That's where they got that.
Yeah, you see Dale Earnhardt there. He's checking the surface out. He's ready to go almost. I guarantee he wouldn't worry if they dropped the green right now.
NASCAR may send a rabbit out in a minute here to check the dryness of the track. That turn is the most banked turn on the course. Turn 1, 14 degrees. So it will dry first. There's still a bit of seeping water down at the bottom of that corner where the track crew is working right now. Shouldn't be too long.
You know, one thing we've seen Earnhardt wheeling the car back and forth. What he was doing just then is he was trying to do what Buddy said. He was trying to feel the adhesion because, you know, the rule in Winston Cup racing, when they drop the green flag, there's no passing until the start-finish line. And you can bet when they drop this green flag, Earnhardt's going to be ducking to the inside and trying to go on up there. And he's wanting to feel, you know, if he can do that with safety.
You know, I was amazed last week. I talked to some of the drivers, and they actually do tests on transmissions now just for takeoff. You know, that's so important track position-wise to get that jump on everybody, and a lot of them just test at different racetracks along with the other part of the test to make sure they have a transmission really get going.
All right, we'll check with NASCAR and update you on when we can look for a green flag when we come back to Pocono International Raceway. Stay with us, live on TNN. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Pocono International Raceway, where we continue under green-yellow conditions. 7 laps have been completed. Bruce from Virginia called our 800 line and wondered when a race starts like this, does Rusty Wallace, the pole sitter, get the 5 bonus points? Yes, he does, because he is officially the race leader. So he gets the 5 bonus points for leading these laps, although we are under caution. Dick Trickle has been called in for consultation. There was a call from the car behind that he might be leaking some oil. Randy?
Well, they're talking about possibly the car leaking some oil. I talked to crew chief Mike Hillman. They said they're going to come in, check it. If that is not the fact, then Dick Trickle will be able to join back in the field in his position that he has right now. So they're awaiting Dick Trickle's arrival on pit road. They've got the jack stands out. They've got a bunch of rags. See him every once in a while making a lot of movement, but they're getting ready. But they don't feel as if it's a problem. Kenny, buddy, sometimes you can fill these cars up a little bit too much with oil. That could possibly be the problem.
Oh, yeah, it's so easy to overfill, and it'll just throw out the oil that's, you know, causing the problem, and then it'll quit smoking altogether.
And hopefully that's just the case, because Dick qualified great. You can see him pulling off now and getting ready to come down pit road. Hopefully, like they said, if he's not leaking nothing, he'll be able to go back out. But as we say in kind of a crude term, the oil, if it seeks its own level, it gets done, you know, throwing the excess oil out. You know, race morning, they make sure these cars are all full of oil. They go through all the fluids. So hopefully it's just overfull with oil. You can see him lifting the hood up here. Maybe we can get a look and see what happens.
Now, they'll have a look at it. If they look at it and send it back out, he can go back in a position. But if they do any work on the car, then he'll have to restart tail end. Nope.
Well, it looks pretty good there, Mike. It doesn't look like they've seen anything.
Well, of course, you want to shrug because you want to get that car back out in line. Oh, I can't find it.
I tell you, it's really hard to detect whether there's fuel maybe coming out of the overflow a lot of times. It gets on the windshield of the car behind me, and you say, oh, he's losing a lot of fluid on the windshield of my car. And it may not be oil. It might just be overflow.
So the active trucking Chevrolet of Dick Trickle comes down the longest pit road in the business and back out. Pick up where we were at the top of the show talking about, if you will, the big 3, or the 3 black cars that have seemed to dominate this sport for some time here. Ernie Irvan, Dale Earnhardt, Rusty Wallace. First time since 1968 that there's been a triple-triple, 3 drivers winning 3 races each in the first 12 events. Cale Yarbrough, David Pearson, and Richard Petty did it in 1968. Here are some of the drivers that are looking for their first win of the season. Among the other top 10 drivers in the points. Looking further back. And now they've sent Rusty Wallace out ahead of the pack to kind of test the pavement around the racetrack, see if we're set to go racing.
And I can tell you one thing, this is not a situation where you're thrilled to death to be a rabbit. I mean, Rusty could run down in there right now and hit a wet spot and spin out, and that's what you call being a rabbit, but it's not the safest thing.
Yeah, but I tell you, Rusty's been around long enough to understand. He's very careful. You notice he's not really up to top speed, but he's going fast enough to test the road without getting himself in trouble.
You know, tires are also really critical, so while he's doing this, he's getting some heat in those tires and getting them burnt up a little bit. That's not an advantage for the start. So, he's wearing his tires out just a little bit while he's doing this.
Now, because of the lap prior to the green-yellow and this green-yellow condition, once NASCAR decides the track is safe to race, they've said they will allow the teams to come down pit road, top off fuel, come back out, and then we'll be set to go racing.
Judging by his speed right now, I don't expect him to be out there for a couple more laps, and they'll be getting these cars ready to go because Rusty's up to good speed now, and the car looks real stable.
Yeah, you see him drift away out wide before, buddy. You're right, he's carried a lot of momentum off there, and that's a good sign that he's up at full speed, and plus all of us can hear a little bit of that motor noise, and he's wide open.
Rusty Wallace, Ricky Rudd, Mark Martin, Jeff Gordon, Kenny Schrader, the top 5 in qualifying here. It looks like Rusty's going to try to catch the pack rather than wait for them, so they'll take a minute to get everybody lined back up, and it'll be 10 complete when they come back around. While we're under caution, we'll take this pause from Pocono. We'll be right back. You're watching NASCAR Racing live on TNN.
Today's exclusive coverage of the UAW-GM Teamwork 500 on TNN is brought to you by Napa. We keep America running.
In 4 laps, they'll be set to restart this race. You see the field come around minus Rusty Wallace. He'd come around to lap the field. NASCAR said, well, that'll mess up our scoring. So Rusty's just kind of idling along, waiting for them to catch up. Now, at 2 laps to go before they go green, we're 4 laps to go right now. They'll be allowed to make pit stops. Up to 3 men will be allowed over the pit wall during the stop. Just the gas can and the catch can, the overflow man, and someone to clean the windshield. So no tire changes will be permitted. But then we'll go racing in 3.5 laps from now. A couple of drivers on the bent and broken list from last week at Dover. We talked to Ted Musgrave earlier about the injuries to his ribs, and Dale Earnhardt whacked the wall a lot harder than we knew at Dover when he then came down the front straightaway. Had a narrow escape with the pace car coming into the garage area. Glenn talked to him yesterday.
Well, we did, but we didn't hit as hard as Musgrave and some of the other cats. And when I was coming down the front straightaway, I realized I'd crashed, and I realized I was holding on to the steering wheel. But I never seen the flag stand go by or Elmo. They said I, about hit Elmo, and I slid off down there and stopped them. The first thing I realized was, well, I'm in the infield. And I thought I was in turn 3 and 4. I was in turn 1 and 2. I didn't come all the way down the straightaway and didn't even realize it. So I reckon it rang my bell a little bit, yeah.
Did just a bit. I had dinner with Richard Childress the other night, and he said, I didn't want Dale to get back in the car. He said, I'm all right. Richard said, well, if you're feeling bad, will you come in? I'll come in. He said, I knew he wouldn't come in. But he insisted on getting back in the race car. There's Richard.
I've been there several times myself. When you pass the phone, you want to answer it.
Hello? Hello?
Well, Dale Earnhardt's got a great streak on. We talked about that. He's been in, I think he's only been released 1 time, and that was very early in his career. So, the black number 3 is Dale Earnhardt's car, and, it takes something really big for somebody else to get in it.
Well, Bill Elliott was standing by in relief, and I think that only strengthened Dale's resolve to stay in the car.
Well, that was, that's kind of a touchy thing. There's one of the top Ford men fixing to drive a Chevrolet of Dale Earnhardt. I don't think that would have worked too well. But it was a nice gesture on Bill's part to stand by in case he didn't.
That's true. In the last races here at Pocono, nobody has really dominated. In this, the June race, 7 different faces. Victor Lane, Tim Richmond, Jeff Bodine, Terry Labonte, Harry Gant, Darrell Waltrip, Alan Kulwicki, who holds the race record, and last year Kyle Petty.
That tells you just how unique this racetrack is. Usually when somebody gets a good handle on a racetrack, they'll win 2 or 3 in a row there, or you'll have repeat winners. So that's an indication of how tough this track is.
Here we have all the cars coming down in the pit road now, following Elmo down the pit road. This is kind of good. Everybody's coming in pretty much at the speed limit that NASCAR sets to come down pit road, and it gives them an idea of how to brake, get in their pits, and everything else.
55 miles an hour.
It's going to be interesting. I mean, they probably won't, but by Rusty being a rabbit and running about 3 hard laps, like I said, put some wear on his tires, it'll be interesting to see if they give Rusty any tires. Most likely they won't. But, There was the only advantage I can see of what he done was to see how his car felt. When the race goes green, everybody else, will be a little bit cold. So Rusty's got a little bit of confidence built up in him.
Mike, they use a lot of tape on the front of these cars. You heard that Billy Engel earlier talking about the 10 car, Ricky Rudd. They didn't know how much tape to put on the front because they had no idea what the temperature is going to be today. If sun comes out, that might be a problem for some of these guys. The reason you put tape on the front is to make it really adhere to the racetrack. Really sink the front end down. You can see on the Kendall car there's several big pieces on both sides of the grill there. If it starts running hot, they'll have to get rid of that, and that'll make the car real tight. They'll make it push, as a matter of fact.
Rusty Wallace pulling out. Most everybody else has completed their gas stop. Ward Burton is still on pit road. So is Michael Waltrip. But everyone else has left their pit stall. We'll get ready to go racing here under the green in 2 laps, we're told. We'll be back to Pocono after this. Welcome back to Pocono. They'll get 1 to go this time by. We have 13 laps complete. It'll be 14 this time, and at lap 15, we will begin. Scott from Maryland asked, what is a provisional start on our 800 line? Well, that's a car that did not qualify through time for the race. And the top, I think, 35 car owners now can use a provisional start. That is, if they did not qualify, but they can start at the tail end of the field. And there are up to 2 of those positions available. Kevin from New Hampshire called in. What's the top speed at the end of the front straightaway here, you guess?
I'd say it's close to 190 miles an hour.
Yeah, we'll get a good reading when this race starts early with these fresh tires. It's definitely up 180 miles an hour.
Fastest part of the racetrack right there, just before they jump on the brakes for turn 1.
To further answer that question, you got an average speed. Rusty Wallace was on the pole at 164 miles an hour, but you got to realize that's just an average going through the corner. Going down the straightaway is a little bit faster.
Well, the real part about that, you use the brakes in 2 of the corners there.
Right, so 164 miles an hour, pretty fast.
Here's your Napa Field standing update. We're at 14 laps, and this will show you, this is the starting lineup. It will show you where everybody will take the green flag from what position. And we are still in double file order, as the green flag has not yet flown today. There was a time here about an hour and a half ago you couldn't see the American flag, and it's about 16 feet high for the pause. But now, good visibility from the NASCAR tower all the way around the racetrack. Track is dry. Green flag this time. And it's about time. We've been waiting 2 days for a green flag here.
Cannot wait, and you see these people in the infield there. That's real race fans, folks.
Now, when the Winston Cup Tour comes back here in mid-July, the ARCA 150 and the TGI Fridays Coke 150 for the sportsman cars that was scheduled for yesterday will be run on Thursday of that week. So folks planning to come for the weekend, come on out early. Great racing on Thursday as well. So we're set to go to green finally. TNN's first appearance here at Pocono International Raceway for Winston Cup racing. We're glad to be here, and glad you folks have hung with us for the last hour or so, waiting to get this one underway. Make that 2 hours.
Boy, oh boy, this is the most exciting part of the race to me. When they get ready to throw this green flag, everybody there is really anticipating what they're going to do, how they're going to run.
And you're sitting next to me, and I see your foot go to the floor.
Yeah, always. Left foot jumps a little.
Let's get at it. Green flag, and we're racing at Pocono. Joe Patrick at the start-finish line. The field is stand out quite a bit here as they head to turn 1. Look at Jimmy Spencer way on the right side of the screen. Jeff Burton, they're going to have to funnel down for turn 1 here, won't they?
Oh, yeah, but everybody's wanting to get in there and get this good track position because there's so much drafting, so much advantage of being up front here.
Rusty Wallace, the leader. Ricky Rudd in second. Mark Martin is third. Jeff Gordon is fourth. Brett Bodine in fifth.
As you see him come to this tunnel turn, it's really hard to run too wide. You can see him right now trying to get single file. That tunnel turn really separates the cars from running too wide.
They tiptoe through there with Michael Walker and Kyle Petty up on the outside as you watch Ernie Irvin. Kyle Petty to the bottom, and they'll come off turn 3 for lap 1. Wallace, Rudd, Martin, Gordon, Bodine. That's the front 5. Dick Trickle in 6th, Slater in 7th, Irvin in 8th. The rest of the top 10, Michael Waltrip and Kyle Petty. Look at Earnhardt on the right.
Bobby said not surprise anybody watching. You know he's going to make it 3, 4 wide until he gets up there in front.
Good smoke from Bob Keselowski driving the Jimmy Means car.
You know, earlier we've seen Earnhardt, while there was a rain delay, checking the inside groove out, and he done just what we thought he was going to do. He just went inside and try to pick off some spots. But boy, they're side by side right now, and they're racing hard.
Bill Elliott way up on the outside. And they're 3 wide again. Into the tunnel turn 3 wide.
Yeah, nobody's told them they're going to go 2 abreast because they're doing it right now, but everybody's really give and take right now. They're not really up to the fastest times that they'll run all day through there. You can see them kind of letting the guy in and not really hogging the racetrack up.
Bob Keselowski looks like he'll come to pit lane this time, driving for Jimmy Means. In trouble up there. One car is in the fence. Ward Burton and Loy Allen go spinning up in turn number 3. And that's Burton's car up at the fence.
Look at Ricky Rudd trying to get the lead coming back towards the flag here. He's racing door handle to door handle with Rusty Wallace. I believe he's going to get it the spot.
They have not taken the caution flag. The leaders were well past the flag stand. Rudd goes in front. He wants those 5 wins to cut bonus points. Rudd comes in here 6th in the point standing.
Well, the good part is that Burton is out of the way up there. He's out of the racing groove. They don't really race back to the flag. They're pretty much hold. You see everybody slowed down. They see the yellow light. It's a gentleman's agreement. They'll follow each other back to the yellow flag.
And, of course, the spotters high atop the grandstand here, radioing their drivers to the exact position of the stalled cars on the racetrack. Boy, Burton's car isn't just stalled, it's thumped.
Yeah, he's coming out of the window right now. He's in good shape, it looks like. Not real happy, I'm sure, this early in the race to have to call it a day, but that car's got a lot of damage on the rear part of it.
Good young driver. And what happened? The explanation from Ward Burton. Watch the right side of your screen here. Ooh.
Well, you've seen it right there. Evidently, he got contact with somebody, which was not very, very clear. Looks like the blue car.
Is that his brother? Or is that Dave? I'm not sure.
You know, you don't want to really say who it was,
Not
but
sure.
there was contact.
We need to show that one more time. That car comes very close to getting upside down. The back end of that car goes way up on the wall there. Watch it jump again. That thing is really bouncing up through there. Now we have an in-car look at what happened.
From Derek Cope. Everybody checks up. Ooh, he got into the back of the 29 car. There goes on the right.
Watch this car come off the ground. Ooh, I mean, he was up in the air.
Folks, that had nothing to do with aerodynamics or roof flaps or anything. It was just the impact.
That's the impact on that wall.
Fixing Loy Allen's car. Also, Bobby Hamilton was part of that. He is on pit road. As they hook up to Ward Burton's car, we'll be right back. For the 3rd straight race, Ward Burton's been taken out in a crash. There's some damage to the left rear of the Menti Chevrolet of Dave Marcus, just completing repairs. He goes back out as they drag Ward Burton's car back to the garage area. It's a very unique event here at Pocono as far as sponsorship is concerned. The United Auto Workers teaming up with General Motors in this Teamwork 500. Earlier, Glenn Jarrett had a chance to talk with representatives of both groups.
Well, being a former car dealer, I never wanted to be caught between labor and management, but today it's a pleasant experience. In a spirit of cooperation, the United Auto Workers Union and General Motors have combined to help sponsor this race. On my left is Stephen Jokic. He is with the United Auto Workers International Union, and this is a really unique sponsorship you guys have gotten together on.
Well, we think it's unique, and working together is important because what we can learn from racing as far as technology and safety and product, obviously, we want to be a world class. That's job security for my workers that I represent. And so that's why we're here, and we're glad to be here. And it's really a great opportunity for all workers. And it's all American cars, and that means something to us as well.
Well, it certainly does to this sport. Now, the other fellow here is Jerry Neckler. He is with General Motors in their personnel administration division, and you guys got to be ecstatic about this too, Jerry.
Well, we really are. We're really making a tremendous comeback in General Motors with our product and through our people. And as Steve says, this is an opportunity for us to demonstrate the teamwork within the company as we focus on our product and the improved quality.
Well, I want to thank both of you guys for taking time to visit with us. Thank you for your spirit of cooperation and for helping bring us the United Auto Workers General Motors 500 here today from Pocono.
And there's a lot of GM guests here as you see Ward Burton's car being taken to the garage area. And perhaps out of this race, Dave Marcus has returned after repairs. There's a little damage to Derek Cope's car you saw. We looked at all of the available replays during the break, and we could not determine which car got into the back of Ward Burton. There are several blue and multicolored cars, and we just couldn't conclusively tell which one it was.
Well, I think we're doing the right thing by not saying somebody caused an accident when we really don't know. We couldn't tell, and we're going to take another look from in-car camera here.
This will be from Derek Cope. Watch him and get into the back of Steve Grissom as Steve checks up there. Jeff Bodine, and there's the Loy Allen going around in the upper right of your screen. Tense moment.
Yeah, you know, there was a lot of touch and go there. A lot of guys getting their left ears run into because everybody's trying to get Ward up. I think the best thing we can do is just wait for somebody to go ask Ward what happened. So we better just stay off of that one right now before we blame somebody. And there's no blaming in racing. You know, accidents are accidents, and turns 3 and 4 are a momentum corner. If you get on the gas a little bit early and somebody's not handling as good as you, you know, it can just happen. It happens every week.
21 laps are complete. Loy Allen and Dave Marcus both making stops for crash repairs once again. And a lap or two before cleanup is complete, and we go back to green. We'll be right back to Pocono International Raceway on TNN.
Today's exclusive coverage of the UAW-GM Teamwork 500 on TNN is brought to you by Ford and your Ford truck dealer. Ford Trucks, the best never rest.
Jeff Bodine and Rich Bickle have made stops for crash damage. So has Steve Grissom. Let's go to the garage area.
Ward Burton has come out of the infield care center. The first question he asked me, which we've been deliberating here, who hit you? And I guess you don't know, or what happened.
Jeff, my brother, just gotten under me and Harry. I knew there were cars under me, and I gave him the inside. Car just extremely loose, and knew I just had to buy my time to get a caution, but just got a tap in the left rear, and there I went. I tried to get back on the gas, spin around, but just didn't make it.
I know it's got to be a tough break for you. The last couple of weeks, it seems you just can't catch a break, and you've wadded up a couple of cars.
Yeah, we have. Probably a little bit of my fault last year. Last week, I need somebody to kind of put a bridle on me and tell me when it's time to go, and just been real hungry to prove myself, and the last 2.5 weeks, starting with the Winston, I've had a decent car, and I just need some experienced help, really. I just need somebody to help guide me, but I'll get back in it.
Glad you're okay.
He is a talented young race driver, and there are better days ahead for Ward Burton.
I tell you, that is very impressive because, as I well know, and people like Bobby Labonte or Jeff Burton, everybody, that's what this racing is all about, is to prove yourself. And he just said what a lot of people think. That was very interesting.
We're getting ready to go back to green. Ricky Rudd is the leader. Most of the leaders did not stop. Rusty Wallace in second, Mark Martin in third, Jeff Gordon in fourth. Brett Bodine, Kenny Schrader, Michael Walker, Kyle Petty, Ernie Irvin, and Sterling Marlin in the top 10 as we restart lap 24. Look at the land rush here. Tell me the straightaway is not wide.
3 hot dogs, turn 2, everybody going. Boy, are they into this thing. I think when they start a race here, you see them 2 and 3 and 4 wide down the front straightaway. That's got to be, you see Rusty, they're buckled up behind Ricky Rudd going down the back straightaway. That's what, if they can draft like that, they'll actually get away from the other cars that are racing side by side.
They're doing just that. Behind them, Mark Martin in a kind of loose 2-car draft with Jeff Gordon, and then there's a big gap. They've opened up some separation on all those drivers that are running side by side. Look at this. Here they come. Brett Bodine on the outside, Kyle Petty, Kenny Schrader, Ernie Irvin, Sterling Marlin. Michael Walker.
Woo! Ernie Irvin was extremely loose there. Most people would have lost that race car. He has tremendous ability. He's like the Dale Earnhardt type of driver. He gets in a lot of trouble and saves it.
4 wide.
And I'll tell you what, the 30 car passed about 5 cars in just one time right there, and they're entering 3 wide. Top of the show, Larry McReynolds said this is a new car. They don't know a lot about it, so it looks like Ernie's having a little bit of problem right now.
You know, a couple of years ago, the 30 car of Michael Waltrip almost won this race. He led quite a bit of it. Best showing I've seen him do in this stuff ever. And he's back on race pace here.
His best finish ever. Second here in, I think, 1988. Michael Waltrip in the Pennzoil number 30, the Chuck Ryder Pontiac. Chuck Ryder Lawrence Terry. We'd like to bring you more in-car footage, but the low ceiling and the clouds here prevented our helicopter from getting up and getting sufficient height to do that. Hopefully later on we will. Darrell Waltrip just got muscled out of the bottom groove there.
Michael's got his hands full right now with Dale Earnhardt working on that back bumper there. Sterling Marlin right behind him, and Darrell Waltrip. Darrell Waltrip very cagey on this racetrack. He'll be up near the front most of the day.
Earnhardt started 19th. He's just taken 9th.
This is what's really aggravating. Michael Waltrip was leading that group. Earnhardt pulled out, and everybody went with Earnhardt. A couple of them look like they're going to get by him. There's nothing that Michael can do except watch him draft on by him.
Stop-and-go penalty, Wally Dallenbach. The STP Pontiac passing on the left side before the line on the restart. 3 wide again. It's a Waltrip sandwich.
That's old conservative Darrell. Remember last week? He said he just let everybody go. He just rides around. You see him making his brother go 3 wide going in the corner there. He never gives anybody a break.
Yep, you're my brother, but see ya.
Yeah.
Still at it.
Joe Nemechek on the inside there. You know, he's really proven his talent here since Charlotte. He's been running really good qualifying good. For him to show up here the first time and be running with these guys, that's pretty impressive also. Inside,
and they're going to go 3 wide again. It's Dale Jarrett in the Interstate Batteries car, the green car on the bottom. Move over, Joe.
You know, racing here, I used to think it was exciting racing here, but I never got to look at 4 wide. I was always in that sandwich and trying to get myself in on good position and getting in the next corner. This is really exciting here.
Oh, I love this place. If they counted lead changes in the middle of the lap, there'd be hundreds of them here. Bill Elliott wipes down to the bottom in front of Dale Jarrett. Across the tunnel turn. Short straightaway here. 3 wide again. Middle of the pack. Here comes Hut Strickland.
Somebody's got to give there. That don't work through that corner.
You'll see that he's up in a little bit. Once those tires start getting wore out, you'll see everybody start getting in single file. Everybody's got a little bit fresh tires on right now, and they're just, this is a momentum deal. It's drafting right now. Everybody's in line, and about halfway here, you'll see somebody pull out. And see there? Morgan Shepherd pulling out, getting that drafting effect, and he's going to race down into turn 1 now.
He's underneath Terry Labonte. Kellogg's car, and takes the spot away.
That's actually supposed to be the apron there where that white mark is, but that's the racing groove here. You see Terry getting under Morgan Shepherd coming out of the corner. What that does, that makes the outside car push a little bit right there, and the inside car gets a real run off that corner.
Labonte has Ted Musgrave to help in the number 16. They pull up on Nemechek and leave Morgan Shepherd up in the high groove. And the Citgo Ford, number 21.
Morgan is one of the best people at race on the outside that I've ever seen. The last 2 weeks he's been running high, and he can really get it done there.
Look at the battle for the lead. 3 wide. 3 Fords.
This is unbelievable. Right now Mark is trying to draft with Rusty and get past Rudd, and it looks like they've got it done.
Yeah, Ricky will kind of back out and get himself back in the 3rd spot there, but Jeff Gordon breathing heavy on his rear bumper.
4 Fords and a Chevrolet in the front 5 here. Jeff Gordon, the lone Chevy among all those blue ovals. Wallace the leader, Martin, Rudd, Gordon, and Brett Bodine.
I tell you, a car that really looks strong right now is Kyle Petty. This is his there he is right there. He's running the pit, and he's caught his lead group.
Yeah, he was part of that group that was all 2 and 3 wide on the restart, and he has run down the front 5.
Yeah, I was just to say, just behind Jeff Gordon there's Kenny Schrader. Is that Kenny or, no, it's Brett Bodine, isn't it? He moved up into,
right now you see the 24 car ducking out. He's trying to see what his car will do. He knows he's got to stay in line, but he's kind of peeking in there, seeing if he can get the job done or not. So he knows he's got a little breathing room behind him in the 26 car. If you're going to try anything, sometimes it's nice to know you've got a little bit of room behind you to do it.
Ricky Rudd had me off the chair here as he came off the corner and almost got a slap of the boilerplate wall there.
Yeah, this is kind of a test of nerves going in these flat corners. If a car gets up about that quarter panel, you can hear him, you know he's there, and you wonder how much of your race car you have in position to turn in on the bottom lane here. So you really have to be aggressive, but you have to be aware of where the car is at behind you, too.
Let's work you back a little through the field. Leader, Rusty Wallace. Second, Mark Martin of Abilene Ford. Third, the tied Ford, Ricky Rudd. Battle for fourth, Jeff Gordon, Brett Bodine, Kyle Petty. Jeff just got boarded right there.
Yes, he did. Brett Bodine running extremely well right now. Back to the bottom of the racetrack. When he picks up the throttle, look at him move away from the cars behind him.
You can see the 28 car earlier. I said he looked like he was in a little bit of trouble. That's all gone now. He's coming to the front.
And look who's with him.
Here comes Ernie Irvin right up behind Jeff Gordon, and right behind him is Earnhardt. This thing's going to get into a real dogfight in just a second.
Great battle off the tunnel turn here from the lead on back. This is 4th through 8th. Joined us late. We had a rain delay of almost 2 hours. They ran 15 laps under a green-yellow caution situation. We've been green ever since.
You know, sometimes this track becomes what I call a mirror-faking track. What happens, you come up off the corner, and you know the guy in front of you looks in his mirror and checks to see if you're there. Well, what happens, if you just pull out left, he's still looking in the mirror, and he goes, where's he at? You know, you're thinking that he's on the inside, so you're giving him respect. You enter the corner a little bit high, and really he didn't even have his nose underneath of it. We do that a lot at Martinsville.
You're awfully young to be that sneaky, I'm going to tell you.
I've learned that through a lot of racing at Martinsville. Sometimes you're a little bit faster in the front, you know, than a guy. So you come up off the corner, pull your car left. Everybody in racing pretty well knows it, but sometimes you can't take the chance. Even with your spotter, it gets so close you can't take the chance to come down this early in the race, especially.
Dale Earnhardt at the tail end of that second pack with Kyle Petty, Jeff Gordon, and Ernie Irvin. 8th place.
I was just fixing to say, Rusty and Mark Martin have kind of checked out. They're about 10 car lengths ahead of Ricky Rudd and Brett Bodine right now. And Kyle Petty seems to be very content to just kind of sit there and wait. He has a very good race setup. I'm sure he's got a lot of notes from last year when he won here. And I wonder if he packed his camera again this year to take pictures in Winter Circle like he did last year. See Brett Bodine moving up under Ricky Rudd there. This car is a rocket ship down the straightaway.
One of the quickest cars on the racetrack right now. And for an update on Kyle Petty, here's Randy.
Well, Jim Long has recently taken over all of the guidance on this team. Robin Pemberton no longer here. You guys got a nice setup, a nice-looking car. What's Kyle saying about it?
We're a little tight right now, but I think we're going to work on the next stop, and it's going to be okay.
That's Jim Long. He's short with the words right now, but he's intent on making this team a winner.
And Randy, as he said that, Kyle moved up past Ricky Rudd into 5th place.
This is a real interesting shot. You see them all coming down in single file, and then you can watch who's going to pull out and try to get it done, and it's Jeff Gordon right now.
Yeah, you see Jeff moving over to the left there. I just wonder if he might be running a little bit of water temperature because he didn't really make a move on Earnhardt or anything like that. He just moved over to the left-hand side. If he was really trying to catch Earnhardt, he would have got dead behind him and tried to draft up on him.
Of course, at Dover last week, Jeff Gordon ran at 260-degree water temperature for the last 200 miles. That engine lived. They were running synthetic oil in that engine, and they credit that Valvoline synthetic for saving it when the water temperature went off the scale.
And not only that, Mike, you're also right, but when he pulled into the garage area at Jeff Gordon last week at Dover, he had a left front tire that was literally flat. So he had a great weekend.
He's had a great year.
Look at Rusty. He's starting to build a lead on Mark Martin, and that is really, really something to be. As I say that, Ernie Irvin is going right by Ricky Rudd down the front straightaway here.
Yeah, Ricky's drifted back just a little now. He catches a toe off Ernie, so Earnhardt can't sneak in there.
Now, that's the car that's not running hot right there. You see him pull right back up in the draft, and that's where the cars run the fastest, nose to tail. But they will run hot right up under each other because you get all the heat off of the car in front of you, off the motor and all.
This is very interesting how Ernie's car looked a little bit loose early, and now it's all settled down. It looks like he's got a really good race car today because as the tires are getting hotter, the 10 car of Ricky Rudd seems to be falling back, about the 7th or 8th. He's still running very competitive, but the 28 car is getting better with the tires getting very good.
But I think there's the fastest car on the track right now is Brett Bodine. He's moved away from Kyle Petty, now in 3rd place behind Wallace and Mark Martin. Now we're watching Ricky Rudd and Dale Earnhardt.
Okay, Ricky's car looks to me like it might have picked up some push on the flat corners there. I think he gets through 1 and 2 about as well as anybody, but in the flat corners up on the far end of the racetrack, he seems to be pushing right out of the corner, and that really kills the straightaway speed.
Yep. 35 laps are complete. Rusty Wallace leading Mark Martin, Brett Bodine, Kyle Petty. 5th is Ernie Irvin, Ricky Rudd, and Dale Earnhardt. At the tail end of that lead pack sits in 7th. Glenn asked Dale the other day if he feels there's room for improvement yet with his team.
Yes, we're running second in the points and way behind as far as the numbers, and we definitely want to improve on that, and I think you're going to have to win several races to do it. I think to win that championship, I'm going to have to win 6 more races this year to come back and not have any bad luck and have good top 5 finishes rather than that. I don't think top 10 finishes are going to do it.
37 laps, 92.5 miles complete here at Pocono. Chuck Bound is slowing out on the racetrack, the Precision Restaurant Ford. Winnebago and a relife on Robbie Allison's car this week, and they report a flat right front tire on Bound's car. You're watching Ted Musgrave and Terry Labonte battling on the racetrack. That's for 16th position. And up at the front, still Rusty Wallace, but now Brett Bodine, the 2nd place car.
I heard Ted Musgrave say earlier today that he was wearing a protector for his ribs. He re-injured his ribs just a little bit at Dover last week, and this racetrack you get a lot of side lean in the corners here because of the flat corners. I imagine it's working on his ribs pretty hard right now.
A look at your leader, Rusty Wallace, at 38 laps. I'll show you what he has over Brett Bodine as Rusty comes toward the tunnel turn here. His lead is just about 2.5 seconds. Chuck Bound has that tire replaced and heads back out on the speedway. Here's Wallace, and here's the new 2nd place car, Brett Bodine, ahead of Mark Martin. Brett in the 26, the Quaker State Ford, nearly won this race last July. He was leading with 24 laps to go. A caution flag wiped out his lead, and he finished in 5th position. Mark Martin is 3rd presently. Ernie Irvin, Kyle Petty, Dale Earnhardt, Ricky Rudd, Jeff Gordon, Sterling Marlin, and Kenny Schrader are the top 10. There's Schrader top of your screen with Darrell and Michael Waltrip.
That Bodine is pulling down. You can see the interval between the 2 cars is lessening every lap. That's got that thing in the wind. I tell you, that off that corner, he pulls Mark Martin 2 or 3 car lengths down that back chute.
The keys to turn 1 and 2, as you've seen on the monitor there, is when you can exit up off of turn 2, you can use every bit of your power. Plus, if you're not driving what we call a push out, if your wheels are straight, you get a lot more, the power will really get to the ground and push the car straighter. If your wheels are turned, it's like shoveling snow. Even though you're wide open, you're shoveling, your front wheels are turned, and you can't go as fast as you need to.
The only thing worse than that's when you're turning right to get off that corner. And I was just noticing Mark Martin's car is extremely loose off the 2nd corner.
There's Martin, the white Valvoline Ford of Jack Roush in 3rd. Irvin, Kyle Petty. Now, is the draft doing Kyle any good right there? Is he close enough to catch any draft off of Ernie?
If you can see a car, it's helping some. Anytime you stir up the air, it's like anything else. You see people, even when they're running a foot race, they get in behind each other. There's draft no matter how fast or how slow.
Okay. Now, clearly, he's close enough to catch the draft.
Yeah, he's definitely close enough to catch a draft. Sometimes there are cars that have the characteristics that Buddy well knows that don't like it. They'll get up there, but they can't do nothing else. And that has a lot to do with the air cleaner, the air getting into what we call the air box.
Let's take you back a little further in the field. Here's Kyle Petty in 5th. Let's go back to about 12th place. Michael Waltrip, Bill Elliott, and Dale Jarrett.
Dale Jarrett's trying to get some kind of inside groove on Bill Elliott there. Bill's running quite well. When we say we're going back to 12th or 13th here, that means you're flying. This is a hard racetrack to run that well on.
Look at Elliott. Did he swing the tail around? It looked like the boom on a ship with the sail attached to it coming around.
He sure did, and that's a lot of experience. As you see Dale Jarrett get to move him, that was probably just that little bit of sideways that caused Elliott not to have his momentum going down the straightaway.
Well, Kenny, anytime you see anybody get sideways like that, the first thing you say, I want out of here. I don't want to follow that car anymore.
That's right, and he's loose as it is, and now Dale Jarrett has got past Bill Elliott, but when somebody comes up behind you, that just makes you lose it. When you get into this long of a race, you don't want no part of it. He's running inside the top 15. He's got the leaders in sight, so he'll get himself a yellow and get that car tightened up.
Dale Jarrett moves up to 13th. Two leaders, Rusty Wallace and Ricky Rudd. Twice. First 15 laps were run under caution. Then we did have a caution for the Ward Burton incident up in turn 3. Report that Joe Nemechek is off the pace in the Larry Hedrick Meineke Muffler Chevy.
Man, that's too bad. He had a super qualifying time and he's running very well today.
He's going through those new season blues, I guess you could say. Performing excellent like he did at Dover last week. You see right there he finished 14th. That is not indicative of his run. He had a 3rd, 4th place car last week. Got caught in the pits under some cautions.
Nemechek started 11th. Randy can update us.
Well, they're ready, and they think it may be a valve problem. Of course, Waddell Wilson, one of the most prolific engine builders of all time in this sport, they've discussed it. Doug Richard, the crew chief, they're going to bring him in. They're going to go under the hood, take a look at it. They don't look too rattled, but they don't look too happy about it either.
That's the one thing you have to guard against. Anytime you shift gears on major speedway, you really have to be careful. You can over-rev or maybe miss the shift, and that's really hard on the valve train.
And right there you're seeing they're checking for plug wires and making sure. They're on the right side of the motor looking in the back. It looks like they might have found a plug wire that might have fell off. I don't see them really taking a valve cover off. Well, they might be because now they're taking the air cleaner off. That's not good news. Taking the air cleaner off means that they're going to try to get deeper into the motor.
Doug Rickert crew working. And a tough break for rookie Joe Nemechek. Kenny Schrader and Darrell Waltrip have had quite a battle going as John Andretti comes to pit road for what would be an unscheduled stop. They're going to put at least right side tires on Andretti's car. This is the 10th place battle here. The Waltrip sandwich once again. Michael in the 30 car. The Pennzoil Pontiac. Kenny Schrader.
Sterling Marlin's just in front of those two cars out here, and he's running very well.
Thank you. That's right. Michael is just behind this battle.
You know, this racetrack is so big. We're up here in the booth. We're watching the monitors. Sometimes it's hard to see everything clear around this racetrack no matter how high you get. So bear with us. Sometimes, we'll call a car that, there's Michael Waltrip in the top of your screen, and here comes Sterling in the front. So sometimes it's leaving the track. The cars tend to blend in with each other.
Well, if you apologize to me every time I make a mistake, that'll be your full-time job.
Well, nobody's perfect, and we all, it is the truth, though. This is a really good racetrack, and, even up here, way up in the booth, we're up above the start-finish line here on the front straightaway, and over what we call the tone zone right there as you see them coming through the corner, Kenny Schrader and Darrell Waltrip. That's a long ways from us. This is a big racetrack. It's 2 miles long.
They're pushing Joe Nemechek back to the garage area as Darrell Waltrip continues to run right in the tire tracks of Ken Schrader. Rusty Wallace leads this race by 1.1 seconds over Brett Bodine, and look at how Brett Bodine is eating up that lead. It was 2.5 seconds, and we're now down to 1.1. So Brett Bodine clearly is right now the fastest car on the racetrack.
Mike, there's one thing. The sun has definitely popped out now. A lot of race cars are running well when they had a lot of clouds over the racetrack, may start walking towards the back, and some of the cars in the back may start moving towards the front.
With 45 laps complete here at Pocono. Rusty Wallace out front. Here's a look from our Ray Vestas aerial platform, providing these shots of today's race action. Ray Vestas, best in break. We'll be right back to Pocono.
Today's exclusive coverage of the UAW-GM Teamwork 500 on TNN is brought to you by Home Life for all your outdoor power equipment and lawn and garden needs.
First of the leaders is on pit road. It's Jeff Gordon at the DuPont number 24 Chevrolet. Ray Evernham and crew at the ready. And at lap 48, we have the first of the leaders' green flag stops. Here's Glenn.
Jeff Gordon has brought the car in. These are regularly scheduled pit stops. I checked with the crew chiefs. They said anywhere from 33 to 35 laps under green. They were in last on lap 15. This is a 4-tire change. I have not seen them make a chassis adjustment on the car yet. Jeff's down and away. 19.1 seconds. Pretty good stop. Pit road has just about completely dried out, but at 55 miles an hour, the wetness of it's not really a factor.
Thanks, Glenn. Mike Wallace, Brett Bodine, the second place car, and John Andretti are in. This is Andretti's second stop. Watching the Quaker State Ford, Brett Bodine, Donnie Richardson and crew over the wall.
Something very interesting on that pit stop. We've seen jacks taking 1.5 pumps. That jack was only 1 pump. And he had to get it up a little bit more there. He only made 1 pump, which is new jacking valving. And they're going to what we hear a 7/8 or a 1-inch cylinder.
7 for 4 tires for Brett Bodine. Hut Strickland is in. Mike Wallace's stop is complete. Derek Cope is in.
Man, no man.
And Rusty Wallace may be in this time. Yes, he is.
Coming in now.
This is where these pit stops are really critical. You've seen Brett Bodine running second, had a 22.7 pit stop. Now, if Rusty comes in here and pulls off those 16 to 17 second pit stops he's been doing, that's a lot of seconds on the racetrack.
Glenn's in his pit. Glenn?
And here he comes, eventually. Nothing quite gotten here yet, Mike. Now he comes down 55 miles an hour. It takes a long time to get down this pit road. This pit crew, one of the best in the business. This also will be a 4-tire change. Again, I can't imagine them making any adjustment on Rusty Wallace's car the way that it's running. They seem to have hit the perfect setup on the car early today. Left side corner. Had a little trouble there. That's unusual for this crowd. A little trouble getting the left side up on the car. Boy, this is slower than normal. 20.7 seconds. So Martin gained about a second on him there. That's one of the slowest pit stops I've ever seen him do, and it really wasn't that bad.
And as you see, most of the rest of the lead lap cars are in this time around.
That's kind of funny. They said it's a terrible pit stop, but he's still in front of everybody that was behind him just a while ago.
It hands the lead to Kyle Petty with Dale Earnhardt second, Sterling Marlin third, Darrell Waltrip fourth. And here's Kyle and Dale, and Sterling and Darrell. So Bill Elliott's in, Dale Jarrett. This is just about complete lead lap car pit stops.
You know, sometimes this race has brought down so much the gas mileage. Right now, Kyle Petty ran a couple laps more than a lot of the guys, so we'll have to watch that towards the end of this race.
Dale Earnhardt top of your screen, Kyle Petty on the bottom. Andy Petrie, the Goodwrench crew, Jim Long hits up Kyle Petty's team now. Yellow punch.
Man, I love that shot. That's neat. See Kyle Petty already through with everything and back on pit road, taking off. Earnhardt's way down the pit road, but he'll come out just ahead of Kyle Petty.
We continue under green. Only 2 cautions today. Derek Cope, Jimmy Hensley are in. Morgan Shepherd finishes his stop, and they looks like they push away Dale Jarrett. He may only have high gear as slow as that car is coming back up to speed.
You know, one thing interesting about this racetrack, NASCAR has a rule. When you go out of the pit, you have to stay on what we call the apron. Well, there's no apron here at Pocono. Turns 1 and 2, when you come out of the pit, you're on the racetrack. So sometimes when somebody comes out of the pit, if there's somebody full speed, he has to get a little bit higher to go on around you.
See Dale Earnhardt running a Chevy Lumina off our 800 line. Mike from Valdosta, Georgia called in, wondered if the Chevy teams will have the option of the Lumina or the new Chevy Monte Carlo that's just showing up in the showroom. Not yet. The Monte Carlo has not yet been approved for Winston Cup racing. Here's Bobby Labonte, the Maxwell House Pontiac, Bill Davis.
You know, Bobby Labonte really ran a lot longer than the rest of the cars.
Got an extra lap or two there. Chris Hussey, crew chief.
Well, they're really having some problems right now. I've been watching the pit stop. I don't know if something happened. Okay, we're here and we're having problems with the right front tire. This is really going to hurt Bobby right now.
34. That one's on the ratchet in the right front. You got air wrench. Ooh. Iced coffee.
Especially on this racetrack. It's very important. A while ago, you seen Earnhardt come out of the pit with Petty right on his back bumper. That's very important to have somebody to draft with. By yourself out here, you lose a lot of time.
Randy?
Well, you guys are right. There's no question about it. Dale Jarrett does have a transmission problem. The car is definitely, they say, stuck in third gear. Now, they will kill him on pit stops, no doubt about it, but believe it or not, Kyle Petty won this race here last year in third gear. They have overdrive in these cars that they ship as they approach going into turn one, the last several hundred yards, as Kenny and Buddy could talk about. But he is stuck in third gear, but that doesn't mean his car won't work well, but I don't know about the RPMs. What do you think, guys?
Well, for most of these teams, third gear is 1-to-1, just like high gear would normally be in a 4-speed transmission, and fourth gear is an overdrive gear.
That means 8,800 instead of 8,500.
Thank you. That's what it means. Wally Dallenbach picked up the lead for one lap. Rick Mast had led one lap ago. He and Jeff Bodine, and now Dallenbach are, now I believe they are the last to pit. I'll bring Rusty Wallace back to the lead. So now everyone has made green flag pit stops. 54 laps.
You know, we were talking about the 18 car only having third gear. It's just like Buddy said, you know, if the motor can live all day, that'll be okay. But instead of turning 8,500, right now the thing's going to turn a lot harder. It's going to turn 8,800, and it's going to be really hard on the valve train. So it's going to be interesting to watch the 18 car if he consistently stays stuck in third gear all day.
It's going to be tough on restarts, though. Rusty Wallace out front in a car that was originally built in 1990. A car that Penske team won their first race with. We talked to Rusty Wallace about the secret of his success as a team and how they've put it seemingly all together.
I think a lot of the Penske influence rubs off on us. Roger's really big on wanting everything organized and a nice, clean operation, and that's what we are. And if you're organized and you've got the good equipment to operate with, you can lay the numbers on the board on Sunday.
We're under the caution for the second time today, a grinding crash in turn one. Sterling Marlin may have gotten into the back of Chuck Bound, and the two cars went hard into the wall at turn number one. You see Marlin walking from his car down toward where Chuck Bound sits. Here's what happened.
Looks like they had a little contact there, then they got into the right rear corner, and both of them go into the wall pretty hard there.
And those cars are junk. See Marlin's, the front end is all caved in, and the right rear on Chuck Bound's car is moved ahead. The rear end is moved ahead about a foot.
That looked like when Chuck Bound went down in the corner. He backed out a little bit. Sterling went in just a little bit harder, and they made very little light contact getting in the corner. That got Bound a little bit sideways, and he got in the right rear corner and could not get away from the car. Then both of them just went up and slammed into the wall.
You know, buddy, this is one of the fastest corners in all speedway racing. You're running 180, 190 mile an hour at the end of that racetrack. As you seen, Chuck's car got a little bit sideways. Let's take a look at it here. We're going to take another look at it and show you what I mean. Okay, the 4 car gets into the 12 car. He gets a little sideways. Now watch, it catches and snaps back on him. That's because you're going so fast, the car's laid over in the right rear so hard, he couldn't really get the right rear to keep on moving like you would on a dirt track, and it snatched back on him.
Yeah, you think you could just put on the brakes and get away from somebody like that, but once you take all 4 tires loose, the brakes are kind of coincidental then.
Last time Chuck Bound raced here was 1980. In that Winston Cup race, he was involved in a collision with Richard Petty and Darrell Waltrip.
Yeah, as everybody knows, on these short tracks we run on, say Wilkesboro, Martinsville, or any of them, when the car gets sideways, you can drive them loose, get them sideways, drive them up off the corner, keep your rear end hung out. But as I've learned from Buddy Baker on these speedways, it's hard to do that, isn't it, Buddy?
Oh, yeah, it is. It's just it's a matter of inches a lot of times, and you go down in the corner, and once you make that contact, you're pretty well spent. no matter what happens, then the two cars are like they're glued together.
Dick Trickle's car on pit road. They had the hood up on the Active Trucking Chevrolet just a bit ago. Now they put it back down, and since we're under caution, he'll rejoin tail end of the field. So not a big rush to get him back out. A little clean of the grill, and he'll go back out. Bobby Labonte has also been in for a pit stop. 58 laps complete. We are under caution at Pocono. This is officially the third time today for a crash involving Sterling Marlin and Chuck Bound at turn 1. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Pocono International Raceway. We're under caution for the third time today. A crash involving Sterling Marlin and Chuck Bound at turn 1. Sterling climbed from his car, and the rescue workers are now assisting Chuck Bound in getting out of the Bobby Allison car down there at the exit of turn number 1. A fellow who's been with us throughout the weekend, gave a concert to some rain-drenched fans last night here at Pocono. Didn't get hooked up with the dress code for the booth today, but that's all right. Tracy Lawrence.
Let me slide in without the white TNN Sportscaster shirt, but they said I could come in anyway.
Glad to have you with us. And I know you've become quite a race fan. I remember you doing a concert with us in our TNN, I think it was stock cars and country concerts and some of the speedways. Weren't you at Rockingham with us?
I was at Rockingham. I've done a few shows in the last couple of years. We've really tried to get more involved in the racing world. Matter of fact, Sterling Marlin's a good friend of mine. I went over and visited with him last night before the race. Looks like they're trying to get everything cleared up and get them back out on the track right now.
Yeah, I noticed since singing the national anthem this morning, you've hung around to keep a close eye on this race.
I'm trying to get as involved as I possibly can. There's just nothing like the thrill of Winston Cup racing, just the feel of being out on the track and hearing the cars run. It's a very exciting sport, and I'm just honored to be a part of it.
Well, of course, as you listen to the music going in these cars as they leave this racetrack or coming in, it's country music in most cases.
It really is. A lot of the fans that are Winston Cup fans are the same people that are country music fans. It seems to be a natural marriage between the two worlds, so we're glad to be able to come out and participate, and I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of the drivers and the teams and just to kind of hang out and be a part of the whole thing.
Well, now, the two fellows to our right are budding singers. They are Carothers veterans, Kenny Wallace, Buddy Baker. I mean, do you have any career advice for these guys?
Oh, don't give up your day job, man.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Chuck Bound has climbed out of the car on his own, and that's great news. Yeah, they did cut a bar or two out to aid him in getting out of there, and wipes off his face and is going to get a ride to the care center. But boy, it's good news to see that he is okay. Forget this stretcher, guys. I'm walking in.
All right, that's great.
That's great news. All right, what a hard lick he had there. We're glad to have you with us. Hope you can hang around, see some more racing here at Pocono, and looking forward to it down the road. You know, I mean, Kenny can't be with us every day. Who knows? We may have a.
We might have to just put him on the road, take him out, and let him get warmed up, and put a guitar in his hand and make him sing.
I wish I wait a minute now. Listen here. I just want to say one thing. Anybody get out in weather like you did last night, you're a trooper. You can come up here anytime you want to. You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Right.
I sure appreciate it, guys.
Tracy, thanks for being with us. We're going to conclude this caution period shortly as you watch turn 1. The cleanup continues from our Ray Bestis aerial platform. We'll be right back to Pocono live on TNN. Welcome back to Pocono International Raceway, cleaning up the third caution of the day. Chuck Bound and Sterling Marlin are okay after hard hits into the wall in turn 1. There is the Bobby Allison car. Ooh, boy. We're going road racing for real. Left and right turns on Saturday, June 25th, when TNN televises the Faye's Drugstores 150. Busch Grand National Race from Watkins Glen, New York. It'll be on at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Live Busch Grand National action right here on TNN. Well, Tracy Lawrence is going to be the next, I think, star student at the Buck Baker Racing School, and today Professor Buddy Baker tells us something else.
This week we're going to talk about being smooth on the racetrack and why it's so important. Every time you move the steering wheel, it heats the tires up. So it's very important to be as smooth as you possibly can be. We're riding along with one of the best. This is Jeff Gordon. You notice he's about a 10 and 2 down the straightaway. His hand's on top up there in case the car would break loose. He's got his hand up there for most control. This is Mark Martin. He uses a totally different grip on the steering wheel. but it's like a golf swing. Everybody's got a unique way of holding the steering wheel, and it works for Mark Martin. You notice his hands are way over together there. That gives him a lot of control. You see his left foot down. He's using the brake getting in the corner there. Back straight, he usually 10 and 2 on the straightaways, but now he puts his hands over and goes into the corner. He gets more control that way, and it works for him. Point is, try what works for you. Yeah. I've had people give me all kind of lessons on the golf course, and I can still break 150.
In which direction?
That's very interesting, buddy. I mean, that's exactly right. There are people that sit in their seats straight up. There are people that lay down. Dale Earnhardt uses a complete different seat than everybody. Him and here you see Jeff Gordon right now. Everybody sits different. Good stuff. That is a very good seat. Thank you.
Getting set for the restart. Chevys, Fords, and Pontiacs in this race today. Ed on from Nebraska on the 800 number. Why don't they run Buick? Well, Ed, each car company decides which nameplates they want to support in NASCAR racing. General Motors a couple of years ago whittled it down from Chevy, Pontiac, Buick, and Olds to just Chevy and Pontiac. So those are the nameplates that offer support to the teams in the forms of sheet metal and other incentives. Ford Motor Company, it's the Ford Thunderbird. They don't support the Mercury Cougar or the Lincoln Mart. And Chrysler, well, who knows? Chrysler with a new Dodge Avenger may be looking at Lincoln Cup racing. They are active in ARCA right now. And, Buddy is an ex-test driver and race winner for Chrysler Corp. You'd like to see them back.
Studebaker, Hudson, you know.
Anybody.
Anything had a round wheel on it, I've run it one time, believe me.
Bring it on.
You know, once again, I'd like to say that Chuck Brown is okay. That was very scary, and especially myself and Buddy were really delighted he got out of that car all right.
Going to get green this time by. We are 62 of 200 laps complete. At Pocono International Raceway, they come off turn 3. Lapped cars one or more laps down to the inside. And we are underway. Green once again.
Ernie Evans got an extremely good jump there in second. He'd moved right up on the deck lid of the 2-car Rusty Wallace.
Show you how they lined up for the restart with our Napa Field standing update. We keep America running, and we'll show you how they're running. Rusty Wallace, Ernie Irvin. Lake Speed 1 lap down right with them.
So these two have set sail right now with these new tires on. Rusty's leading Ernie. Somehow seems lately here that those two cars are always out front. Looks like a repeat from Dover. But look to the right of your screen, the distance that they have already stretched out. The 15 car of Lake Speed is a lapped car. And here's Brett Bodine coming up off of the corner.
And look at that snarling pack behind them. There's Brett Bodine, Mark Martin, and Dale Earnhardt are behind them. Everybody.
There comes Ricky Rudd out, making it 3 deep down the front straightaway, and there comes old conservative Darrell, making it 4 wide down the front straightaway.
And once again, he left his brother out to drive. You're riding with Jeff Gordon here.
You can see when he shifted up in the third there.
Now, some drivers shift 4 times, not just 2. Let's see if he grabs 4th gear on Long Pond here, or if he leaves it in 3rd.
I think he'll leave it in there. He's racing pretty hard to be doing a lot of gear changes now.
He's a 2-shift driver.
Well, for anybody that had any questions on our track,
Ricky Rudd really got loose there.
stay tuned here on this camera shot. We'll show you more shifting down the straightaway.
We're not talking about Ricky Rudd. He's very lucky to get that car back straight again. They went in the corner. He took the air off the rear spoiler by running so close in behind him there, and he was really lucky to get that car back straight. There comes Darrell Waltrip on the inside of Ricky Rudd now trying to make a pass, and Michael Waltrip right behind him.
And Kenny Schrader. And Terry Labonte. Well, Ricky, if he doesn't get to the bottom, he's going to get a great train right here.
Looks like he's going to get back in there. Those are his new tires. Even though he got to the outside, he was able to hold the car down and get himself even out and get in single file line. It's lucky he didn't get stuck on the outside.
Nice place on back.
Yeah, you see Darrell getting around this racetrack. He's won here quite a bit, and he knows the proper way around this racetrack. Michael's getting some good
A real interesting fact there is today talking about Daytona. You've got to love Daytona to win there. And don't you agree? I think this is one racetrack that Darrell Waltrip loves. He seems to run good here all the time.
Well, he runs well, but look who's leading this thing. Does this car have a name for it? Everybody else names all their cars. Does Rusty Wallace name his cars?
Well, Mike Joy has a lot of statistics on this car. I believe this is Midnight.
I have everything but a name on it. It's 003 is what they call it. I don't think it has a pet name. It won the pole in the race at Bristol in 1991. It won here at Pocono in 91. It sat all year in 92. In 93, it was rebodied as a Pontiac, won the pole in the race at Richmond, the night race. And this year they put a T-Bird body on it, and it won the pole in the race at Martinsville. Now, that's kind of interesting that you bring a Martinsville car here to Pocono.
Yes, it is, but more and more that the rules are more evened up. I know for a fact, and I don't like to bring up Rusty's team all the time, but I'm close to them. The car that they won Martinsville with, they went to Atlanta and won the race too, so the cars are getting more even. When we say we're building a short track car, we're talking about a car as light as we can get it. So everybody's running these cars just about everywhere now.
Before this last stop, you could see Brett Bodine just moving right in on everybody. Now he's struggling to stay in fourth place. Mark Martin made some adjustments on this car, and he's running in third. But here's the story right now. Rusty Wallace is moving right along with Ernie Irvin. They seem to be breaking the draft on everybody else behind them.
Does this race more equalized between, let's say, the less physical drivers because it's only 200 laps and because there are such long straightaways to get a break?
Well, you don't really have that much break. As you can see down the front straightaway, you're four wide sometimes. You have to use a lot of mental, and I think the mental conditioning of a winner is the most important part of getting ready to win races, not the physical aspect, because the cars have power steering, they have excellent seats in them. Everything's built to hold that race car driver in a good place in that race car. I think mentally it's very tough to get ready to win.
Good point. Let's take you to the top 5. Here is Rusty Wallace, Ernie Irvin right with him. 3rd, 4th, 5th. In a pack, Mark Martin, Brett Bodine, Dale Earnhardt. And in the top 5, the big 4, and plus Brett Bodine.
Well, Earnhardt used up every bit of that wall. You see him come up off. He's pushing or he's loose. It's hard to speculate right now, but he was in the gas wide open, and he used every bit of that racetrack up coming up off turn 2.
We're watching him come up out of the corner. The car's running pretty straight there, but down in 1 and 2, you really have to struggle with that race car to keep it down low.
Well, that's the neat thing about this racetrack. If you're real good in turn 3, you're not going to be so good in turn 1. Some guys are, some guys aren't.
It's a lot like Darlington. Darlington, you set up the bigger corner, which is 3 and 4 there. You don't worry too much about 1 and 2. You just kind of slide it through there and hope for the best.
You can watch the momentum work here now, Ernie.
We have a wreck up in turn 4.
One car sitting. Is that Jimmy Spencer?
It looks like Jimmy Spencer's car has come to rest up there. It's got some impact on the rear, just behind the left rear corner there. You can see the back end shorten up considerably.
Yeah, I think Jimmy's in trouble here. His day might be over. Like I said last week, these rear ends are made of 2x3 square tubing, and it looks like the fuel cell is pretty close to the ground right now.
Yeah, that's become a much smaller bag of French fries than it was. Heavy damage on the left front corner and the left rear of the McDonald's Ford. It is home racetrack.
Man, like you said, there's a whole bunch of damage there that you can't see. Starting at the trailing arms and everything. He'll probably take that one right behind the wall.
Yeah, that's a shame. He seems very upset there because he's not really going into the pits very easy. So maybe if we get a replay of that, we can see what happens.
We're under caution. Once again, 70 laps complete here at Pocono. This will be the 4th caution flag of the day. Huge crowd on hand here in the infield of Pocono, and this place is just packed. And the grandstands sold out.
Great race, fans. You know that. At 7 o'clock this morning, I'd have bet everything I've ever made in racing that we would never see a green flag today. Here we are. These people, they show up as a capacity crowd here.
Well, you know what they did? They honored Hal Marchman, Reverend Hal Marchman, with the Bill France Senior Pocono Award of Excellence. That he brought some of that Daytona Beach Chamber of Commerce weather up here with him.
Yeah, it never rains in Daytona over 5 minutes at a time.
That's right. And we needed it for today after yesterday was a complete washout. Let's get an update on Chuck Bound. Here's Randy.
Well, I'd like to say this as delicately as possible. Chuck Bound did walk out of the ambulance into the infield care center. They're looking him over. They decided for precautionary reasons they are going to take him out in the chopper over my shoulder. The chopper over my shoulder. They're going to take him to Lehigh Hospital and further examine Chuck Bound. Of course, in this business, to take a hard lick that Chuck Bound did, they said he's still very, very woozy, and they just want to make sure that he's okay. They're going to take him to the hospital and check him out, but they're going to take him out of here in the chopper.
Good point, Randy. You can't be too careful. I mean, when you impact the wall at 160 miles an hour, certainly every precaution certainly should be taken. Let's go to the Mark Martin pit. Here's Glenn.
Well, Mike, in addition to the four-tire change, they're going to make a little adjustment on the car. Jack Roush put some adhesive on a piece of tape, told the guy to put it on the front of the car. The engine is running a little too cool, and the car's got a little push, so they're going to try to increase the downforce on the nose of that car a little bit. You can see the guy right there putting that piece of tape over there. Four tires. They're hoping that will help the car take the push out of the car, make it run a little quicker and a little hotter.
Thanks, Glenn. Pit stop's complete. They'll line up for the restart. We'll have that for you when we come back to Pocono International Raceway. You watch for Mark Martin's car. We'll be right back.
Today's exclusive coverage of the UAW-GM Teamwork 500 on TNN is brought to you by Super 8 Motels. With over 1,000 locations nationwide. Life's great at Super 8.
Welcome back to Pocono. They're still cleaning up from Jimmy Spencer's incident up in turn number 3 that sent the McDonald's Ford to the garage. Rusty Wallace, he is the race leader. If you'd like a chance to win $1 million, get out a pencil. I'll tell you how in just a second here. We're at 72 laps. Wallace, Irvin, Jeff Gordon, Mark Martin are the front 4. Brett Bodine, Dale Earnhardt, Kyle Petty, Morgan Shepherd, Darrell Waltrip, Michael Waltrip. Take you back through the top 10 as they get ready to restart. You can win a fantasy trip to the Miller Genuine Draft 500 at Pocono in July. $5,000 in cash and a chance at $1 million. Just send your name, address, and phone number on a 3x5 postcard to this address. UAW-GM Teamwork Sweepstakes. P.O. Box 7813, Melville, New York, 11775. Once again, that's Sweepstakes, Box 7813, Melville, New York, 11775. As they get ready to restart, we're going to be ready to go green. So let's take a break from Pocono and be right back and ready to go racing. Rusty Wallace has led 58 of 74 laps here at Pocono. They're going to put him under green this time, it looks like. Greg Sachs went from 20th to 9th during pit stops. Todd Bodine went from 22nd to 10th on the pit stops under caution. Green flag, lap 73. We begin lap 75, excuse me. And Rusty Wallace takes off as they head for 1.
Once again, you see the Wild West in turn 1. Everybody, getting good momentum over some of the other cars, and as they all sort out coming up off of turn 2 now, it looks like they're getting back in line.
Jeff Gordon ducks out of line. That's Lake Speed, who was a lap down, and here comes Mark Martin.
Mark Martin making that inside move. You notice everybody doesn't run to get down that outside down through there. Really, to get in that corner, you need to be in the bottom part of the racetrack.
It was interesting on that last pit stop, Mark Martin put some tape on his nose and maybe it's prudent to make his car a little bit faster.
Riding with Jeff Gordon. Backing Mark Martin into the corner.
You can see he's in third gear there, coming on this flat area toward the front straightaway. That'd be interesting to see where he shifts gears.
Start-finish line.
There we go. Just about the start-finish line. He's in high gear now.
He's coming.
Done. Yes, sir.
3 wide. Nope. 2 right.
That's the position, though. He's on the other side. He'll go right on back.
Here with Mark Martin now. They're trying to lap past Lake Speed and go chase Rusty. Back in third gear. That Bodine up and underneath. There's not room for 3 wide there. Is there? Oh!
You see Earnhardt taking advantage of Mark Martin getting caught outside there. Ooh.
And here comes Kyle Petty.
reason I did that is Mark Martin was really caught in a bad spot there, and he moved over. He didn't see Kyle Petty on the inside of him. They almost got together.
I think that was a little water from down at the track apron. Kyle Petty bounced his tires down right down the edge of the racetrack.
I have my own theory on that.
Okay.
I won't elaborate.
I know. 3 wide, and Mark dropped in. Right down on the white line.
Okay, he's getting ready to come out of the corner. If he was pushing, he'd go right on out like the 42 car did there. He's got his car where he can turn it now.
You see, the 42 car got really low, but he got those left side tires really up on that white paint. It's really adhesive down there, but he got up on that white paint a little too much, and it slid Kyle just a little bit, and Mark took advantage of it and got up off of turn 2 really good.
Yeah, the traction on paint is very poor.
Yeah, Morgan Shepherd is really getting to the outside of the racetrack, as you mentioned a while ago, Kenny. I don't know. I was always kind of, well, not on that corner. He lost about a car length without getting in the corner there. But usually it pushes so bad in that area when you're wide like that, you can't get the momentum to come off the corner.
You know, my Joy was right. I just watched Kyle Petty go through that turn 3 there. The next time they come around there is water on that racetrack still down there in turn 3, and Kyle Petty really threw it up. And I did notice that, so we'll watch for that.
Lead change. Ernie Irvin on the inside of Rusty Wallace. Come on. Was that a wave?
Yes, that was. You seen Rusty Wallace tell him to go on.
What they might be doing, they're drafting so close. They might be watching the water temperature on the 28 car, and he says, okay, guys, we got the 2 best cars. Let me lead a little while, cool my motor back up, and I'll let you back.
Well, I don't know. Rusty's third in points. That's 5 points, 5 bonus points for leading a lap. He didn't have to give to Ernie Irvin.
You see that shoulder work right there, okay, compared to Jeff Gordon with our in-car camera. Jeff sits back. Rusty uses a lot of shoulder to turn the car. That's just a little bit of English, wanting that car to do what you want it to do.
Ernie Irvin has now led 11 of the 13 Winston Cup races this year.
Boy, that was a short throw. When he moved that thing back into high gear there, that gear lever didn't move but about 2 inches.
With Jeff Gordon and Brett Bodine, that's 3rd place. And back up front. There's that battle. 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Earnhardt's right there. And let's go back. Back about 20th place. That's from left to right. Dick Trickle, Bill Elliott, Darrell Waltrip, Dale Jarrett, and Rick Mass.
They've been racing for about 50 laps against each other there. Darrell's car sticking very well on the bottom there.
They have a look under Trickle. Nope. These cars are 13 seconds behind the leader. There's Todd Bodine at the front of that pack. Mike Wallace.
Trickle's car is running just as fast as Darrell Waltrip did down the straightaway. I think Darrell may be getting in the corner just a little bit better than Trickle. Trickle's car looks like he might be hanging out a little bit in the corner.
Mike Wallace caught up high there in the Heilig Myers Ford at Jimmy Donlevy. He is 1 lap down. The rest of those are lead lap cars.
See Dale Jarrett helping Waltrip come by there. They get nose to tail like that. You can see how much advantage that gives the inside line when they get buckled up there going down the back straightaway.
You know, it's hard to believe how competitive this racing is. You're sitting there, you're looking at some of the best that have ever done, you know, a champion, Bill Elliott, 3-time champion, Bill Waltrip, Daytona 500 winner, and we're talking about this is 20, 21st, 22nd. Yeah. This is unbelievable how tough this sport is getting.
80 laps, 200 miles complete this time by. 28 cars are on the lead lap. And your leader, Ernie Irvin, riding now with Rusty Wallace in 2nd place down Long Pond Straightaway. Let's see if he's a four-time shifter or a 2-timer.
Well, he's going down through there in 3rd gear. He left it in 3rd. I think you get too fancy with that shifting too many times. You get into a problem. You have problems with the shifter lever, the linkage, so many things you can get in trouble with.
Ernie Irvin with Rusty Wallace tracking him. They're round 3. We asked Ernie Irvin, you've been running real strong, but is there still room for improvement with your team?
when you think you're the best you can be, you always learn something else. And probably the word improvement now is to give Larry more information and get me a better race car every week.
Welcome back to Pocono, where Ernie Irvin leads Rusty Wallace, Brett Bodine in third, Jeff Gordon in fourth. There's first and second as they head up. You can call in your questions toll-free to us here on the telecast. We'll try to find answers for you about this race, about NASCAR racing. The call is free, 1-800-451-7331. Give us a ring. That will be operational all during today's telecast. First and second are nose to tail, and they've got a bit of a gap back to third place. Out of turn three, there's the third place car, Brett Bodine, with fourth place Mark Martin, and they're being caught by Jeff Gordon and Dale Earnhardt.
You look at Ernie Irvin there, he pulls out about a 5-car length lead over Rusty Wallace, and then you just kind of sit there and wait for the second. When they get in the flat part of this racetrack, Rusty closes right back up on the back bumper, Ernie Irvin. So I think he's got a little something for that 28 car if it comes right down to the left.
Now, Earnhardt was racing Mark Martin side by side when we went to commercial. Now he rides at 6th position. Ricky Rudd and Terry Lamani for 9th and 10th place. And Wally Dahlin back with them in 11th.
Yeah, this is really an impressive run for Wally Dahlin back. He's run solidly in 11th, looking to make a move into 10th.
I'll tell you why. Former SCCA Grand Slam and it's the GPO champion. We talked all day about how this is a road race course. It's just all left turn. He's one of the best road racers here.
He's doing a good job. Yeah, he's bringing a lot of company with him just there. You notice Michael Waltrip coming into the battle here. Musgrave's right in there. They're drafting together. They're trying to put a move down the front straightaway. They're fighting each other down through there. Musgrave started last week. He just started moving up real good when he got in that mess going in the number 1 corner. That's about as hard as I ever seen anybody hit the wall and get out of the car uninjured as he was.
Big trickle on pit road as we take you back up front. Ernie Irvin grew up in Carmel, California. Raced around the West Coast, came east. Rattled around a couple of rides, finally hooked up with the Morgan LeCour team and really came to prominence. And a bunch of victories capped by Robert Yates to fill the seat left by the passing of Davey Allen. Rusty Wallace. Sharon from Wisconsin called in on the 800 line. What does Rusty stand for as a nickname?
Rusty, I don't know, but they call him Rubberhead a lot. And,
No. You want to know what Rusty is a nickname for? What's his given name?
Russell William Wallace Jr.
That's a mouthful. Rusty is just fine.
I've seen some pictures of Rusty when he was a lot younger, and he had this beehive hairdo, and it was kind of rusty looking. I think that's where it might have come from.
Yeah, my father's name is Russ, so Rusty was the first child born, and it was just, a hand-down, oldest son got the name.
Called him Rusty to distinguish him from his dad.
That's right.
Well, you're off the throttle a long time there at turn 3. The very best to carry a platform, the best in brakes, giving you this look from high in the sky here at Pocono.
Boy, that's a heck of a shot right there down the front straightaway. You can see the 2 cars are pretty much even. Just behind them, you see Mark Martin making a move on Brett Bodine going in the first corner. Made it look pretty easy at that. That piece of tape hadn't hurt him at all. He couldn't touch the 26 car just a few minutes ago. Now he's eating him alive.
They are 3.3 seconds behind the leader. Another look here. This is turn 3.
Yeah, before the 6th car was just washing out in this corner. Now he turns right under him. As a matter of fact, the car got a little loose on him there when he turned under the 26th car, but he has really got the momentum coming up out of the corner.
Yeah, buddy, I think they're putting a little bit of that tape on. Even though that was a little piece of tape, that tape is pitching down for something there. It looks like Mark's car is turning really well now.
Jeff Gordon and Earnhardt moving in on the 26th car, Brett Bodine. I don't know. Brett was probably the fastest car on the racetrack until they started making adjustments on the chassis. But right at the moment, I think a bunch of them caught up to him because he's able to hang on, but that's about it.
That's one thing about Winston Cup racing. You know, just when you think you're right, you're not. But here comes Rusty, who's been settling for second for quite a while back on the 28 car, and there's a pretty big interval back to them. But Mark has got a couple of cautions to really dial that car in, and he looks really strong right now.
Ernie Irvin's car got real sideways through the short chute just a second ago, and that allowed Rusty to move right in on the back bumper. Now, Rusty will see that. He's cagey enough. He'll put a little pressure on that back end there. He'll close right up under him and make him think that car is really loose. See, there he is.
This is a great race. Last week at Dover, Ernie would get right behind Rusty and make him loose. Rusty said, okay, go ahead, and they kept doing that back and forth. It's about 10 laps ago, Ernie took the lead from Rusty. Rusty said, go ahead, and so now it looks like Rusty clearly get better than long term.
Yeah, 2/3 of the lead changes last week were between these two drivers. Picking up right where they left off. Napa, we keep America running. Shows you where they're running at 89 laps. Take you back through the field. Are you surprised that the first year with the Ford, I mean, here's Rusty Davis' partner, headed by David Evans. They've been building Chevy engines and with Pontiac heads now for how many years? And suddenly, right away with the Ford, they're as competitive as Robert Yates, who's been building Fords since they first started casting cylinder heads out, from sand and aluminum.
Well, first off, Rusty Wallace gives a lot of credit to his car owner and this and that. Penske's a very talented person, but so is Rusty Wallace. If you ever go on a test with him, he does a lot of his own work. He sits down with Betty Parrott and people, Todd, and everybody in that crew, and he calls the shots. He's a smart guy. You know, he passes about a lot of momentum is due to the Penske team, and it is, but Rusty Wallace is a field general when it comes to getting that car right.
But look, there are only 13 races of experience with the Ford, and look at how they're running.
I think the situation with the Penske team, we keep talking about them, and the reason we do that because of what you just asked, Mike, it's amazing. This team, when they make a decision like Roger Penske did at Indy to go with the Mercedes-Benz motor, when they make a decision to go with a brand, they're not going to go out on a limb. That's the test the Ford in the wind tunnel. Motor testing, they don't do something to spur the moment.
As Rusty Wallace slams it back into third gear to chase Ernie Irvin down a long climb straightaway with 91 laps complete. We'll take this break and be right back. The only time a car other than a Ford has led today was when the lead Fords made pit stops. Dale Earnhardt led a lap, Wally Dallenbach led a lap, Chevy and a Pontiac, respectively. And you see that Dale Earnhardt got past Jeff Gordon. Jeff waved him on. We saw from the in-car.
You know, Mike, when we drop back in the field, there is still 27 cars on the lead lap. So when you drop back to 15th and 16th, these guys are getting the job done. They're flying around this racetrack, but the front fronts are really getting it done now.
Jeff Gordon, third gear, and he takes it over the tunnel and down what we call the short chute here, the shortest up of 3 straightaways, leading to that long flat turn number 3.
I've been all over that wall before. I come off there one time and the rain started. Let's go back in here and see what Jeff Gordon's doing. You see the gear levers vibrating back and forth. You wonder how in the world that thing won't jump out of gear when it's vibrating like that. But it's a very good transmission.
Now watch the footwork when he shifts. With this Jericho transmission, you don't use the clutch, do you, buddy?
No, a lot of people do. A lot of people from the old school, you've noticed Jeff Gordon's left leg stays very still, and he's just absolutely raising his foot just a little bit off the accelerator to kind of take the slack out and slam it right up in the gear. These things are almost bulletproof.
He's got relaxed figure, and look at his left arm. It's just kind of laying on like the robot there. I think that's one of the reasons Jeff Gordon is so good. He's not tensing that seat. He's got his head proper. He's using the headrest. He's using his whole body feel of the whole race car. And that's very impressive. His hands are wrapped around the steering wheel very loosely. He's not tense looking. And he's getting the job done right now. He's driving like that. He uses everything in his seat.
Now you see where he is down in the lower left. He comes off turn number 3 here to show you relation as we're on an in-car shot. Right about the start-finish line, he should grab the 4th gear.
Oh boy, was that ever a quick one. You didn't notice how close that motor sound was. When he changed the gear, it was just whoa, like that. I mean, it was very close to the same sound as before.
Now, it's interesting. They don't downshift, or at least he doesn't downshift to slow for the corner. He downshifts to get up off the corner.
Reason for that is you don't want to put too much stress on the transmission. So drive it in there under brake conditions, and then when the car gets in the corner, gets the set, then you put it in gear to accelerate off the corner.
We're going to go back and have a look here as we go back from Jeff Gordon. A couple of battles coming up. Here's Kyle Petty, Ricky Rudd, and Morgan Shepherd, and just behind them, Wally Dallenbach and Ted Musgrave.
Wally's been running super good, and I expected him to run well today because he's a good road racer. 9 out of 10 times, if you run the road race course well, you run well at Pocono.
It's really nice to give a good call to Wally Dallenbach because they did struggle earlier this year. And Richard Petty held a press conference in Atlanta after they did miss the race there and said that they were going to get engineers and people in there to get that car going. And their promise that they have, it is definitely paying off, and I think all the fans are really happy to see this 43 car running so well over the last month.
Mike, the classy part of that deal was he didn't put the blame on Wally Dallenbach. Wally said, I'll get out of the car if you think it's me. And he said, I don't think it's you. I think we're a little behind. Let's work and get caught up. We're sticking with you.
Now look at Wally and Ted Musgrave drafting along, have caught Morgan Shepherd. We saw Ricky Rudd drop down and pass Kyle Petty. And that'll be for 7th place.
Yeah, you can see the water there. It goes across that gate there, where the gate opens to the infield. There's water running across there, and every time they go through there, it throws up a spray. We thought the car was having trouble a while ago when we seen it on the camera.
Ted Musgrave has a pair of 5th place finishes here at Pocono. The last 2 years, he's got a 5th each year driving Ray DeWitt's car. Now he drives for Jack Roush.
You know, as those cars come down the front straightaway, you can look at both Pontiacs like, okay, the car of Kyle Petty here, and then the car of Wally Dallenbach. When they come down that front straightaway, you can see the different shaping in the front end, which is very, very critical. That gives each car more downforce in the front end, and it goes to the different shapings you heard.
It's a strange racetrack. You need a road-made chassis, and you need super speedway aerodynamics to succeed here at Pocono. Wally Dallenbach and Musgrave now side by side as we're coming up on 100 laps.
Today's exclusive coverage of the UAW-GM Teamwork 500 on TNN is brought to you by Napa. We keep America running.
Sun beginning to break through here at Pocono. Race leaders Ernie Irvin and Rusty Wallace. Now Kyle Petty is with him because he just made a pit stop under green. We are 100 laps complete. We are halfway. And for Ernie Irvin, that may not be great news based on this statistic.
You seen what new tires do on the race car here. He just went by Rusty Wallace like he stopped. He's going by Ernie Irvin. These guys are stopping right now.
Right. Kyle Petty's picked up so much from new tires, everybody else is coming in. Randy Pemberton is at Ernie Irvin's pit as they come down pit road. 55-mile-an-hour speed limit.
Larry McReynolds, the entire crew, waiting for Ernie's arrival. You know, you cannot set a car up, basically, to hit all 3 corners of this racetrack. And Ernie Irvin was complaining that he's tight over the tunnel turn. That's the only place he's not getting through real well. Right side tires already on the Haviland Ford. Jeff Buck, the Jackman, with the left side up, and left side tires are already on in the Haviland Ford. Now, Sunshine is up pit road.
Well, Rusty Wallace brought the Ford in, the Miller Junior Draft Ford in. They did change 4 tires, put fuel in it, and they did make a chassis adjustment. So evidently he didn't like the way it felt on that last set of tires. They did adjust the car just a little bit. I'll find out exactly what they did in a moment.
And we're right back where we were a minute ago. Nose to tail.
Boy, that was exciting there. They both come out right together, tires smoking down in the number 1 corner, and they're right back exactly. They're right back where they started from.
Absolutely unbelievable. I mean, that was as close. These 2 cars have been running together. The pit crews have been crewing together. They come out bumper to bumper.
Here's the other black car, Dale Earnhardt in. Watching Central Line pit stop. Number 4 tire change.
getting his Chevrolet in also for 4 tires. I don't see him going for a chassis adjustment on his car. Yes, he is. The guy that just changed the right rear tire is also making the chassis adjustment. Looks like about 2 rounds. They're all on the left side now. Putting the left side tires on, fuel down, he's down in the way. It's a pretty good stop considering they made that chassis adjustment. I think all these guys are finding their cars a little bit tight. I'm going to check with Buddy Parrott in a moment and find out exactly what they did to Rusty's car. Do the same with Earnhardt.
Jeff Gordon posted on top of the leaderboard. Rick Mast and Todd Bodine completing pit stops. 102 laps complete. And there they are, just like they were a while ago. Ernie and Rusty.
Boy, I tell you, you talk about 2 evenly matched cars. One will have a little bit better run off the corner and get 2 or 3 car lengths ahead, and then Rusty will get a little better run down the back straightaway and close right up on the back of Ernie Irvin's car. These cars are just exactly alike. I wouldn't toss a coin for the difference in the two.
Michael Waltrip, Morgan Shepherd, and Bill Elliott on pit road. Eva called from New Hampshire. Why don't they let them use 2 jacks at once?
It'd be kind of hard to balance it, first off.
I think
you'd have to jack. Well, you know, it just puts another man out there that you don't really need. This thing is like a ballet anyhow. They change the tires as fast as they can fuel them anyhow, so why put another man over the wall?
Jeff Gordon now will make his stop. He had picked up the lead. Steve Grissom and John Andretti making pit stops. Dale Jarrett will move to the front spot. Then Jeff Bodine and Darrell Waltrip.
Any more with the speed limit going down pit road, the first thing you get when you hit pit road, remember the speed limit, don't come in too fast. That's a lap penalty, and the lap penalty here is like 30th position right now.
You seen Jeff Gordon when you came down pit road, he popped the car out of gear.
Glenn?
Well, guys, a lot of discussion going on down here in Rusty Wallace's pit after that pit stop. It seems that they're upset because when Ernie Irvin passed them going down pit road, he did throw on the outside of that white line. NASCAR told them that they had to blend in on that white line. They're saying that Rusty passed him when he shouldn't have been able to pass him, but their pit stop made up for it. So they're a little upset about it. They think that Ernie should have blended in behind him, and that Rusty should have the lead right now.
Well, thanks, Glenn. We may have another look at it here. Let's show it to you.
Okay, you see Ernie Irvin just back to pit road. They come out. There's no doubt about the 2 car got out first to Rusty Wallace. There he comes to the outside. Well, the only thing I can say is they will pass the guy with the paddle. From there you can race down in the corner, I believe, but you're not supposed to be on the outside of that white line.
Irvin clearly did have the momentum on Wallace, but that's the way they run. Rich Bickle makes a good stop. And to answer Brian's question from Washington, NASCAR determines the pit road speed based on what will be a safe speed given the length of pit road, the size of the pit stalls, and the width of pit road. 55 miles an hour is one of the faster pit road speed limits. 104 laps complete. Kenny Schrader leads this race. He's only the second Chevrolet to do so today. Dale Jarrett is second. Darrell Waltrip. They have yet to make their pit stop. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Pocono, where Ernie Irvin and Rusty Wallace run 3rd and 4th, but they will move up as Darrell Waltrip comes to pit lane. Darrell, one of the gas mileage kings of the day, he and Dale Jarrett, who is the race leader. See what they do on Darrell's stop. Here's Randy.
Well, it's 4 cars of fuel. Absolutely, the car is definitely running. It's not a problem whatsoever as far as how much fuel he's used. So evidently, Dale has always been able to stretch it all the way. They're already on the left-hand side in Western Auto Chevrolet. Pretty good pit stop so far for these guys. They adjusted the spoiler. And it was 18.7 for the sprint.
Good stop. That'll leave Dale Jarrett atop the leaderboard.
You know, that's very interesting, Darrell Waltrip going so many laps. You know, some people say that he has been known to run laps that are very consistent and slow just a little bit to get better gas mileage. I don't know about that. He's a great competitor, but he seems to always get the best gas mileage, and I mean like always 5 or 10 more laps than anybody.
Riding with Jeff Gordon. Fourth gear there behind Dale Earnhardt. They are 8th and 9th right now. They move up to 7th as Greg Stack.
Well,
Jeff's caught on the outside there. He's going to have to let Ricky Rudd go and try to grab Ricky Rudd to catch up to Earnhardt, because Earnhardt got a real nice clean exit into that corner there, and he's flying.
You notice when Jeff was going through that corner, we had an in-car shot. His right finger, his thumb was on the radio. He was talking to Ray Evernham while he was going through turn 2.
Right now are struggling because yesterday was rained out, and they're setting these cars up as they go today. Some people are complaining the car's pushing and all, and the reason for that is they didn't get out there. They didn't get the tires hot. They didn't have time to set the cars up, so they're having to, every time they stop, they try to get these cars perfect for the last run. And when they make their last pit stop, whoever hits that perfect setup will be the winner.
Well, that's for sure, and a lot of this Winston Cup racing is like a crapshoot when you don't get no practice.
Dale Jarrett is leading, and I don't show that he had made a pit stop under this rotation. Here he comes. The Interstate Battery Chevrolet answers that question with a left turn down pit road.
Like 3 or 4 laps at the end of this race might be the difference in whether you win, too. You got to stretch it. If you're not able to lead, you need to stretch and make something happen.
That's true. Here's Randy.
And Joe Gibbs poised behind the wall. Crew Chief Jimmy Mayfar over the wall. The Interstate Battery Chevrolet has already got the right side tires. They're still jacked up on the right-hand side, but of course, the most difficult part here for these guys is getting off pit road. They're stuck in third gear, if you remember. They said earlier they're going to try to limit their pit stop, so as long as they can to try and stay on the racetrack. 5 guys took the Interstate Battery. Chevy kicks it off. Now he gets it going to get stuck in third gear. Top pit stop, it was 18.9, but he's going to lose a lot of time on pit road.
With only third gear, which is a 1-to-1 high gear. Jarrett's going to be a little slow coming up to speed, so I'm sure they stretched every drop in the tank trying to catch a caution flag. Doesn't happen, and he's slower coming up to speed than would be the rest of the field. That'll move Ernie Irvin back to the lead with Rusty Wallace second, Mark Martin third. Brett Bodine in fourth, Dale Earnhardt fifth, sixth Ricky Rudd, seventh Jeff Gordon, eighth Kyle Petty, ninth Morgan Shepherd, 10th Ted Musgrave, 11th Kenny Schrader, 12th Michael Waltrip, 13th Terry Labonte, 14th Wally Dallenbach, and 15th Hut Strickland.
That's the statistic to look at there. All but 11 laps today. That's incredible. You would think the Chevrolet would, on this particular type of racetrack, they run super well on the road courses and all. You would expect the Chevrolet to be up there at least contestant that will lead most of the day.
Well, these two cars have been pretty dominant over the last couple weeks here, and although this is a complete different racetrack, you don't want to keep elaborating how fast between the two of us. They have been the force to reckon with here the last couple weeks, and it looks like Jeff Gordon and Dale Earnhardt have been the front runner in the Chevrolet team.
Coming up on turn 3 here. See how long it's better that
Ernie
corner.
Evans got loose there, and Rusty shot right up under him. Imagine Ernie don't want to do that many times more. That car was really sideways. You see what an advantage. Just that one little time he had to lift to let the car settle back, how much of a lead Rusty got on him.
Not only that, but where he got loose leads into the longest straightaway on this track. You lose momentum coming out of that corner, and it's a long way back to the front.
Glenn Jarrett elaborated earlier how everybody's cars are tightened up. I think that's exactly right, and what's happening, every pit stop they're tending to loosen them up a little bit more to get the front ends to turn a little bit better. And maybe, just maybe, Ernie, either Rusty made Ernie loose to get behind him, or Ernie's got his car pretty neutral now, so got that push out of it, and he went just far enough to get it loose.
On our Ray Best, helicopter mounted camera, the best in brakes in these views.
There's two things that happen. You lose momentum when you get sideways like that, but you're very reluctant the next straightaway when you just start to turn in that corner and you say, did I have a tire going flat or something? Why did that car jump sideways all of a sudden? So you have to wait for that next corner just to make sure things are back to normal.
And in racing, sometimes these cars don't gradually get loose or gradually start pushing. I've been in a Winston Cup car before where you're running to that corner, buddy, just like you just said, one lap in and you find all of a sudden, wham, you're loose. So those tires are really within one lap.
Like you said, you asked that question. Is there something wrong with the car? Was there something on the racetrack? Did somebody loosen me up? And sometimes it seems like an awful long wait till you get an answer.
Well, as we talked about that, you can see he's right back up behind Rusty again. I think Ernie's car might be just a little quicker than Rusty's at the moment, but they'll keep adjusting on Rusty till they get up with him.
115 laps complete at Pocono. We're just a bit past halfway here. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Pocono. Mike Troy with Kenny Wallace, Buddy Baker, Glenn Jarrett, and Randy Pemberton in the pits for TNN's live coverage. First time that we've done a Winston Cup race on TNN from Pocono. We're glad to be here and glad to have you join us this afternoon. The showers of the morning are gone, and we've had pretty much green flag racing the rest of the day. Only 4 caution flags for 30 laps. And the front duo stay pretty much glued together.
Yeah, they're running nose to tail, and they're just moving away from everybody right at the moment.
Mentioned only 2 cars did not qualify for this race. Andy Belmont and Billy Standridge were the non-qualifiers as we look back for Mark Martin, the 3rd place car in the Valvoline Ford. Poor Mark's got nobody to run with.
No, he don't have anybody to help him draft right now, and I think that's why the 2 up front are moving away from him.
Yeah, he's singing that Allman Brothers song we had at the top of the show. There ain't nobody to run with anymore. Here's Brett Bodine. And Brett, the Creighton State Ford's in 4th place.
Yeah, he's pretty much by himself. There's Jay Nemechek. He had problems earlier on, had to make an early pit stop, but he's back up the race's speed and running pretty well.
He is 19 laps behind. Back behind Nemechek, next car in line is John Andretti. He has also spent some extended time on pit road. He's 3 laps down, running in 33rd for Billy Hagan. Steve Grissom just ahead of Dale Earnhardt there. Grissom is 1 lap down. He's the first of the cars 1 lap down. That would be 24th position.
Well, Grissom never run here, and this is a learning curve for him. I'm sure when he comes back in July, he'll be a lot better off.
Our past Dale Earnhardt, who's the 5th place car. Here is Jeff Gordon in 6th in the DuPont Chevrolet. Running in 6th place. He doesn't have a drafted partner either.
No, he was running right with Earnhardt. I don't know whether they have a bad pit stop or what, but he has dropped back somewhat.
They're right behind him, running 7th, Ricky Rudd in the tied Ford. Just getting a whiff of a draft off Jeff Gordon.
Yeah, people don't realize what Ricky Rudd's done. He's won this team, and he's up in the top 10 every week now. That's an accomplishment. They've got a good race team. They'll be heard from before the year's over.
Next car back is Mike Wallace. He's in 30th position, 2 laps down. And the Heilig Myers Ford of Jimmy Donlevy.
Just behind him is Morgan Shepherd.
There's a look at Morgan in the Citgo Ford. Morgan had a hard trip into the wall at Dover and some harsh words with Brett Bodine after the race. But Shepherd right now, who is 24 seconds behind the race leader, sits in 8th place in the Citgo Ford.
They were sitting right together this morning at driver's meeting. That was last week. This is this week.
You don't fight in school when the teacher's looking.
You got that right.
At the driver's meeting, everybody's looking. Next car back is Kyle Petty. He's in 9th place, and he's, of course, on the lead lap. And he's got help. He's got Kenny Schrader right with him.
You know, he came back through this field. There goes Kenny Schrader, who just made the move on Kyle Petty, and also Ted Musgrave is getting up underneath him. What I was wanting to say is, you notice as we came back, there's a lot of openings on this car, the brake rack openings, and you see under Kenny Schrader. They do use brakes here, so they need to get some air to the brakes, unlike the speedways where they don't have brake racks.
Kenny Schrader, he got some success here at Pocono, and Ted Musgrave right with him. They are 10th and 11th place. Musgrave driving for Jack Roush, of course Schrader for Rick Hendrick. Deb Air. Doug Kodiak there on the hood of that car. And there's Ted Musgrave. Of those 3 fifth-place finishes you see on the screen, 2 of them came right here at Pocono. And Ted Musgrave.
One of Ted's really good racetrack is coming up next week. Ted also runs real good at Michigan.
Yeah. Back behind him is Greg Sachs. And Sachs has dropped a lap to the leader. He's in 25th position, 1 lap down, and about half a lap behind his closest competition, which would be Steve Grissom. Passing Rich Bickle, who will go 3 laps down in the Harry Melling car, are your 2 leaders.
You know, last year I ran this race and I got down a lap. I finished, I think, 12th and 1 lap down, and Rusty asked me, how could you be so bad you got down a lap on a track so big? Let me tell you what, these 2 cars right here, Ernie Irvin and Rusty, are setting sail so fast right now. They are getting ready to lap some really good cars. So when you get 2 cars like this hooked up in a really good draft and they're knowledgeable, they can put the best in the business down a lap.
Moving under Lake Speed and Roy Allen. And Ernie's going to see how this sorts out here. And that'll give Rusty some breathing room.
Yeah, you get a good break on this racetrack. You can get a couple of seconds build up, but the one thing about it, he's liable to go in the next corner and get hung up behind somebody himself and bring the 28 car of Ernie Irvin right back on his heels again.
We're 123 laps in here at Pocono. 77 laps to go in the 500, and we'll be right back live on TNN after this. Welcome back to Pocono. Rusty Wallace grabs 4th gear as he tracks Bobby Hamilton down the front straightaway. Kendall Pontiac and Felix Tavares back to 3rd gear to climb up out of turn 1.
Boy, that's a great shot. He don't waste any time. When he throws that baby up in 3rd, he's ready to ride again.
And he laps past Hamilton. Bobby will go 3 laps down. Ernie Irvin closes the gap. Now he's moving up on Jeff Bodine. Bodine is the last car on the lead lap by Battery Ford in 22nd position. 75 laps to go.
This car, this number 7 car, X-side Ford car, Jeff Bodine, is a really tough competitor. Rusty's pulling up on him to put him a lap down right now. So it looks like we're at a stage in the race right now where a lot of cars are getting stretched out and in jeopardy of going down the line.
Randolph from Kentucky wants to know if Michael Waltrip is Darrell's son. No, they're brothers.
That's his brother.
Exactly. Darrell's much younger brother, but they are brothers. In fact, I don't recall any father-son acts in racing on the track
You see Ted Musgrave got by Slater there. That is full position. Musgrave turned it up just a little bit. I think he realizes they're falling back, and he's really standing on the car now.
9th place now for Musgrave. Lori from Iowa wants to know if Ned Jarrett stopped announcing. Well, Ned doesn't work on TNN on the live telecast. He does have his own show on TNN, Inside Winston Cup Racing. As Wallace moves underneath Bodine to put him a lap down. And you'll hear Ned next week calling the Winston Cup race on another network.
Oh, what a shot that is. You see him going by down the front straightaway. Ernie Irvin's looking to the inside, but he said, no, I don't think so. Not this early in the race. I'm going to say that here. Ernie's running very well, but he seems to have a little bit of a loose condition in the center of the corner to me. Rusty gets a little hole shot on him when they both climb back in the throttle.
That's exactly what Ernie doesn't want right now, is that 7 car to be glued to his rear that can make him looser. These 2 have had an advantage. Rusty and Ernie can kind of separate themselves from the field. So if Ernie gets loose, he just lets Rusty go, and usually there's nobody behind Ernie.
Yeah, those 2 cars are running right now. I don't think Bodine will be there very long.
Donna from Florida called in, asked how many years Ernie Irvin have been racing Winston Cup and for what teams. Ernie, who drives for Robert Yates right now in the 28 car, came to Winston Cup in 1987. He's driven for Mark Reno, DK Ulrich, Jimmy Donlevy, and the Morgan McClure team. Going to have pit stops coming up in a bit here for the lead cars. So before they do, let's take this pause from Pocono and leave the leaders here nose to tail with 128 laps complete. We'll be right back to Pocono.
Today's exclusive coverage of the UAW-GM Teamwork 500 on TNN is brought to you by Super 8 Motels. With over 1,000 locations nationwide, life's great at Super 8.
Kyle Petty is on pit road. Again, he is the first of the cars on the lead lap to pit. He was in 11th place when he came in.
You see him putting a jack screw wrench in there. They're going to put some bite in this car right now. 2 rounds in the right rear. So he must be pushing a little bit, Kenny.
Yes, he's pushing. They went down to, so that's interesting. If they 2 turns in the right rear, but they pushed up on the spoiler, that's contradicting. So he must be in a loose push situation.
Both at the same time?
Yeah, exactly. He could be pushing in the middle and loose coming off, so they're trying to, even the car out, get a little bit better balance.
Mike, you run so fast down the front straightaway here, getting into turn 1. You need the spoiler to hold you, but you need to be loose getting off the corner. So you need the car loose, getting out the corner, spoiler to hold it where you run the fastest.
3/4 of a turn of wedge in Brett Bodine's car and a flat left rear on Jeff Bodine.
That might have something to do why they were lapping him a while ago. That thing might have been going down. Here comes Rusty Wallace down pit road right now.
And Ernie Irvin. Both the leaders are in pit lane.
This is going to be interesting. Rusty had just a little bit of a lead on Ernie. So when this pit stop is over, also Mark Martin's coming down pit road. All these leaders wanting to pit together.
We're going to Randy first.
Just a little bit of concern. They're going to take a half a round of bite and put it back into the left rear to have one board. A little bit of concern with the water temperature. They're running about 225 here on the number 28 car. There goes the tape off the front of the grill. Glenn Garrett is down pit road with the 2 cars.
And Rusty Wallace has already had the right side change. The left side, now he's down. They did take 1 round of wedge out of the car again. Still a little bit of a tight condition. He and Ernie pitted together because they want to settle this thing on the racetrack. They don't want to give up that 2-car draft.
Wallace's pit stop is 3/4 of a second faster. You can see the difference right here.
Here we have Terry Labonte coming in the pits right now. This routine pit stop for all these guys. When those leaders come in, you better not stay out there. You lose so much time when they're on fresh tires and you're on oil.
Yeah, all year long, some people try to pit earlier because when they get tires earlier, they run a little bit quicker for a couple laps. So that is a deciding factor. Sometimes it is hard on the person when they stagger these pit stops. If Rusty and Ernie come in first, they run faster because they got newer tires. You're out there on old tires, and so you're losing a lot of track position sometimes.
You can get lapped, as Darrell Walton did. Here's Dale Earnhardt in. Here's Glenn.
And the crew goes to the right side again. Obviously will be a 4-tire change. Chocolate Myers putting gas in the car. Car's already down on the right side. Boy, this might be a real fast one here. This is one of the best stops I've seen all day today. We'll get a time on it as soon as he gets down in the way. A little slower on the left side there. A little bit of trouble. 18.8 seconds. That's a pretty good pit stop. One of the best of the day for Earnhardt and anybody else for that matter.
I don't think there's anybody faster with a jack coming around the front of the car than David Smith.
Oh, he's something to watch. He's really probably the best jack man as far as speed of anybody in racing.
Michael Waltrip is in. Getting 4 tires and fuel. Cleaning the grill. And away he goes. The Pennzoil Pontiac.
Now, one thing. Did you notice, Kenny, the 2 lead cars adjusted their car. Michael never touched anything. All he got was tires.
You sure, that is exactly right. And what was interesting, Ernie and Rusty did just the opposite. Rusty was pushing. They took wedge out of the left rear. Ernie got that car to where he was loose. They put wedge in. So both cars running together, but both handling different.
Jeff Gordon and Dale Earnhardt running in tandem. Ken Schrader was the leader. Gives it up to come on pit road for 4 tires. Up Strickland is in, so is Bobby Labonte. And that should hand the lead back to Rusty Wallace and Ernie Irvin. Wally Dallenbach is in. 20 seconds for Ken Schrader. Should be one more pit stop as we're at lap 134.
That's something Glenn and those guys can check for us because it's marginal whether they have to stop again or not. Yeah, for an extra stop.
Riding with the leader, Rusty Wallace. Gets it into high gear.
You notice when Rusty shifts, he doesn't even let off the gas. Jeff Gordon burps is what I mean by burping. He lets off the gas a little bit or clutches a little bit. Rusty just takes it and pulls it back and forth.
Gordon is his boy.
He and Earnhardt have raced door handle to door handle probably 50 miles or better today, and now they're at it again. You see Jeff sitting there, getting in the corner there. He's on the outside. He lets Earnhardt go on the bottom side. Jeff's car is doing quite well up in the third gear and starting to accelerate off the second corner there and getting ready for the long straightaway down through there.
22-year-old Jeff Gordon going to postgraduate school right here.
Yeah, he's giving him that peek. Okay, he's out of Earnhardt's mirror. Earnhardt maybe thinking he's there, but he goes back in behind him.
I have to think Jeff has a lot of tape on the front of his car because he does not draft directly behind Earnhardt down the straightaway. He pulled over there and just a little bit too fast in that front of the car.
You know what I just noticed in that shot right there is the 24 car, his balance area under the grill is caved in, so you never know, that could be a reason.
We'll have another look at that. Rusty Wallace in tight traffic moves underneath John Andretti. At 136 laps complete, finally Darrell Waltrip makes his pit stop in this rotation. Buddy Parrott, what makes your team so successful?
Well, the guys have proved time and time again, you know, on pit road, they just keep coming back. You know, when they get put under the pressure, you know, when they come down to the last pit stop, you know, they perform well and they enjoy it, you know, and there's a lot been said, you know, but still, you got to have that driver out there that push the button and get you in position to show out on pit road. So it's a team effort at Penske Racing, and that's why we're so successful.
We're back live at Pocono, Pennsylvania. The ASA, the American Speed Association, where drivers like Rusty Wallace and Mark Martin came to national prominence, is at Brainerd, Minnesota, Sunday, June 26th for the Pontiac Excitement 300, and you'll see it live at 2 p.m. Eastern Time here on TNN Motorsports. Rusty Wallace works a little race traffic. As they come down the front straightaway, he's just ahead of Hut Strickland. And battling for position, Mark Martin and Brett Bodine is in fourth place. Now, ahead of them in third is Dale Jarrett, who is out of the pit stop sequence. He's been getting real good gas mileage, has yet to make his stop.
Well, if caution comes out, things can happen in a hurry here. Everybody's trying a little strategy anymore. Jeff Gordon, he won the World 600 because he absolutely made the right decision on the last stop. And we were talking a while ago, I think everybody can make it on one more stop, but there's going to be a lot of people doing things to their race car to make them fast, not worrying about whether it's loose or pushing or whatever. They're going to try to make them as fast as they can.
Jeff Burton makes his pit stop. Ray Beston's Ford, the older brother. 4 tires. As you watch Mark Martin and Brett Bodine.
Ooh, Mark really got loose there. He's driving the wheels off of it.
As usual. Now, you're riding with Jeff Gordon. When we went to break, Kenny was talking about the front valence. Air dam on Jeff Gordon's car. He kicks it in a high gear. And gives away.
Evidently, he's running with somebody. After he gave Dale Earnhardt, he told Dale to go ahead and go. You know, I talked to Ray Evernham last week. They really worked with Jeff a lot at Dover. Okay, there's the front air dam I'm talking about. Look at the lower air dam. It's shoved in.
He hit a tire on pit road, Alabama.
Yeah, it does.
See the mark on it?
Yep, and it's definitely going to cause a push where the front end won't turn a little bit.
I think he hit a tire laying down on pit road. Just came off another car, you know, was taken off and was sitting on pit road. Just looking at the marks and the way that indentation is.
That definitely explains why he pulls over down the straightaway. It also cuts down on the frontal area of that car because it is bent in there, and it's not getting the air up in and shoots like it's supposed to. So it's running a little hotter than he probably wants it to run.
When I was getting ready to talk about Dover last week, they told me that Jeff said he was only running 3/4 of the throttle trying to keep that motor cool, and they said, yeah, but we finished fifth. You know, Jeff has really matured and showed a lot of patience lately, and at that he's been getting top 5 finishes every week, and I think he's really been doing a great job.
Then you go by Harry Gant there. Harry has worked himself into the top 10. Right now he made a pit stop, so he'll drop back in the standings a little bit, but he's run quite well all day, and that's just in front of Harry Gant there is Todd Bodine.
Rhonda from Michigan wants to know if Harry Gant will still work with the Stoll folks after he stopped driving in '94, and we're told yes he will. He's going to continue to work with and represent them. Here's Mike Wallace limping into the pits. I'm not sure if he's got a left side tire down or if he may be out of fuel.
Mike might be out of fuel, or he might have a problem. I'm looking at his crew off of the monitor right now, which is on your TV screen, and they don't have no tires, so we'll have to see what's going on.
Look at this. Dale Jarrett in the middle of a three-wide pack. You're with Mark Martin. He's part of that. He's going to sweep around Jarrett in turn one. Remember, Jarrett has not made a pit stop. His tires are more worn than those on Brett Bodine or Mark Martin's car.
Marks really gets off the corner. He pulled right out. A while ago, you noticed Brett Bodine could just go away down the straightaway. Now Mark just pulled to the left and drove right by him down that short chute.
Yeah, it looks to me like Mark is strong coming up off of some corners, and then the other corners, like turn 4, he's not as strong. So, you know, Mark did get a bigger lead with the on back and forth. So it's one of those momentum situations where he's good in one corner and not as good in the other corner.
There's the old home stick. That's the only camera in those cars that makes me ever want to crawl back in one. That's exactly what it looks like, folks, when you're out there racing.
You said if I ever saw you in a car with a number on the door to lock you up.
Yeah, go get the man with the net. I've lost my mind.
Mark trails the leader by 18 and a half seconds. Greg Sachs, the U.S. Air Jasper Engines Ford, making a good stop. And you're back with Jeff Gordon, who is in 7th place. Let's go to Glenn Jarrett.
Well, I'm in Jeff Gordon's pit. We'll talk to Ray Evernham. Ray, we see some damage to the air dam on the car. Is it upsetting the handling?
Yeah, it's making it real tight. You know, 6th car left the tire out on pit road, and Jeff hit it. That's the 3rd time it's happened to us this year. I don't know. We're supposed to pick him up. We have a guy pick him up. I guess it's just one of those things. But we've got a good car. The DuPont car's running real good. It's just it's a good fuel. We'll just try and overcome it. But it has upset the handling of the car pretty good.
Is it something that you're going to be able to repair?
I don't know. You know, it's folded back pretty good, so I don't know. We'll try and pull it out on a pit stop, but, you know, it's just going to kind of be tight for the rest of the day, I guess.
He's not happy with the housekeeping at number 6 next door.
Thanks, Glenn. Jeff Gordon, presently in 7th spot. Rusty Wallace is the leader. Ernie Irvin is 2nd. In 3rd is Mark Martin. In 4th, Brett Bodine. 5th is Dale Jarrett. 6th, Dale Earnhardt. 7th, Jeff Gordon. 8th is Ricky Rudd. 9th, Ted Musgrave. And 10th, Morgan Shepherd. At Pocono International Raceway, 52 laps to go. Rusty Wallace is the leader, and where before the pit stop, Ernie Irvin was running right with him. Right now, Ernie Irvin is in a different county, though still in 2nd place. Here's Rusty. This is around this 2.5-mile tri-oval. 3 different corners, 3 very different corners. Let's show you the interval. And there's Rusty. And as they say on the other network, way back here is Ernie Irvin.
We're going to drop back in and see Brett Bodine in 24 car. Jeff Gordon seems to be doing a little bit better. He's run Brett Bodine down. Seems to be able to handle him pretty well.
6th and 7th place. Ahead of them in 5th is Dale Jarrett. Bobby Hamilton making a pit stop.
I've got to find out something. I've got enough 800 numbers here about your tie today. Group of women from Georgia. Mike, love your tie. Daryl from Iowa. He buys Mike's tie.
All right.
Sue Ellis. Mike. Oh, man. Answer it, please.
This tie is so bright. I wanted it to scare the rain away. This tie was picked out by a young lady who is even more striking and much prettier than this tie at Saks Fifth Avenue in New York.
That's the only tie in the world that matches Jeff Gordon's car.
That's pretty close. It's a Gianni Versace, I think. Here's the pass. Gordon and Brett Bodine.
Just really got to run up off that corner. Great camera work.
You think those engines don't turn? Listen. He's off of it now, but when he's going down that back straightaway, that's old home sound there to me. That's all. Oh, me. Earnhardt went by Mark Martin like he was stopped just then.
That'll be 3rd place for Earnhardt. And it puts the 3 black cars, 1, 2, 3, and that's it.
Oh, man, I tell you that, when they say the big 3, it's hard to argue with right now.
Well, it used to be the big 4, and I still think it is. Mark Martin has been struggling.
Well, that's true. The big 4 are 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's add that.
That's for sure. You know, Mark has had a hard time this last month, and it looks like he can finish here today. He'll be settling right back into things. He finished 4th place finish last week at Dover, and he's been running in the top 5 all day long. He's been running really well.
Well, he had a pretty similar start to last season, if you remember. He went along and looked like he was struggling, everything going against him. All of a sudden, he won 4 in a row. So they have the capability. The cars there, Mark Martin certainly the drivers can do it. They just need to get the break.
Now, they're pretty well spread out. Earnhardt trails the leader by 21 seconds. And now, finally, Dale Jarrett will make his pit stop. Kind of an interesting call. You know, we take a lot of things for granted in this sport because we live with it every week, but we have a call from a new viewer, asked if Kyle and Richard Petty are related. Sure. Lee Petty won the Daytona 500 in 1959. His son, Richard Petty, won that in the NASCAR Championship 7 times, and his son, Kyle Petty, races now. Here's Randy.
Well, talk about stretch and fuel. Amazing that this car has been able to go as far as it is. Once again, we have to remember that there's third gear and third gear only. Now, the bottom line with this car is 49 laps to go. Can they go the distance? Well, I talked to Jimmy Maycard. Left side tires are already out. He said they don't think they can go the distance. They'll probably have to gas and go with 10 laps remaining.
Oh, that'll be tough with only third gear. And Dale Jarrett is a second-generation driver. His dad, Ned Jarrett, now TV broadcaster, 2-time Grand National champion. And, of course, Dale's brother is Glenn Jarrett, whose voice you hear on this telecast.
He's struggling so hard, though. He only has third gear in this car, and getting out of the pit, he must be losing a good 10 to 12 seconds to the leaders every time he makes a stop because he does not have the gearbox to go up through.
And you can't accelerate as hard as you like coming out of there or risk tearing the clutch out of it.
You got it.
As you see on TV right now, as I was talking about earlier, look here, Rusty Wallace getting ready to lap Bill Elliott and Wally Dallenbach, and these cars are running in the top 15. He is on a tear today.
That's nice. When you have a car you can turn under like that. Now, when you have a car that's driving like Rusty Wallace's car, you feel like you're going 10 miles an hour around the racetrack. When you have an air-handling car, you feel like you're flying and going nowhere.
You're right. We're 153 laps in. Rusty Wallace now on a 7.5-second lead over Ernie Irvan, Dale Earnhardt, and Mark Martin. Tune in Sunday, June 26th at 6 Eastern for NHRA Today live drag racing excitement, followed by the Western Auto Nationals live final round, all from Topeka, Kansas, right here on TNN Motorsports. You're with Rusty Wallace, who now commands a nearly 8-second lead over the field here at Pocono. And right behind him, the cars he lapped just before we went to break, Bill Elliott and Wally Dallenbach continue to battle. Now, this is for 12th place. These are cars that are well up in the chase.
Mike, you see Wally's car just came out in the corner there. It's a little bit tight in the center of the corner, and Bill got a jump on him there, about a 3-car length lead just in that one corner. Now, Dallenbach has closed back up down near the end of the straightaway, and he's running pretty well through the flat part of the racetrack. But down where it's banked a lot, he loses time to go late.
Well, his road race experience comes into play here. Bill Elliott in 12th, 1 lap down. Just ahead of Dallenbach, then Kyle Petty, Rick Mass, Hut Strickland, Terry Labonte, Bobby Labonte, all 1 lap down, and now 2, Dale Jarrett is a lap down. So is Darrell Waltrip, Todd Bodine, Harry Gant, and Jeff Bodine. So we're now down to 11 cars on the lead lap after this shakeout.
Kenny, we have a situation right now. Moving back in. What does this do to a race car when it gets cooler out there?
Well, really, it just makes the car stick better, okay? If Ernie Irvan's loose or he's pushing, it should decrease his problem a little bit. But the situation there is that whoever's hurting the worst, whoever's handling the worst, is going to handle a little bit better. But you look at somebody like Rusty Wallace, he's just going to go faster also.
Question about Bill Elliott on our 800 line. Darrell from Florida, is he leaving the 11 car at the end of this season? Well, we don't know for sure, but there's an awful lot of activity down in Dawsonville, Georgia. The Elliott's, and there are some other new NASCAR teams coming in for the 95 season, so who knows?
You know, these guys are trying so hard right now, and things are just not falling into place. But it happens to every race team sooner or later. Richard Petty's been through it. Everybody, the best winners in racing, go through bad years. Dale Earnhardt had a year where he couldn't do anything right. Bill Elliott and those guys will be back again. You can believe that.
Underneath John Andretti in the Billy Hagan car is Dale Earnhardt and Mark Martin. They continue their battle for third place.
Earlier, you seen Dale Earnhardt dust off That's a good word. He dusted him off. Earnhardt passed Mark really easily. Now the sun has gone away, and it looks like Mark has kind of closed back in on him. You see as Earnhardt pulls him up off that corner right there, and then they come back around the corner and we're bumper to bumper. So there's a lot of places in this racetrack where the drafting sector comes in where we can get a better run at the other cars.
Earnhardt outside of Rich Bickle and Terry Labonte.
Now that was a real nice move by them, flap over cars there to let Mark Martin and those guys go at it there. They just kind of slacked off the pace a little bit and let Dale and those guys go at it.
Floyd Allen just ahead of Earnhardt now. And then Dale squeezes under as you watch from the Ray Bestis brakes, aerial platform.
Ooh, Mark Martin comes so close to spinning that car out off of turn 4 just then. I can't begin to tell you. You could see the wheels go back in the opposite direction. That's how far sideways he was.
For the fourth time this season, Rusty Wallace has led the most laps since that 5-point bonus. Watching Mark Martin. Let's show you that again.
Now, we were right on him with the helicopter cam a second ago, and he come off the corner over here. Okay, watch this car right here. Look how far sideways. Now, I'm going to tell you what. That's when Buddy Baker pats his chair and says, thank you. Good job.
I'm with you.
Okay, there's not very many drivers. It seems like Mark Martin comes off the corner sideways more than anybody. He really does a good job at running that car, what I call neutral, and saving it.
Dale Earnhardt, Jimmy Spencer, Mark Martin, 3 Lucas running guys here.
And if they're not, it sure does appear on TV, doesn't it?
Yeah. Spencer went to the garage area early, so did Sterling Marlin and Chuck Down in a bad crash at turn 1. Derek Cole. The Jimmy Means car with Bob Keselowski, Mike Wallace, and Ward Burton out of the race. 10 cars on the lead lap as you ride with the leader. Rusty Wallace going for 2 in a row today. Last week's winner is silver. 41 laps to go. We'll be right back.
Today's exclusive coverage of the UAW-GM Teamwork 500 on TNN is brought to you by Chevrolet. One car company has won more NASCAR races over the last 10 years. Genuine Chevrolet.
Well, there was a call on our 800 line as to why didn't NASCAR run rain tires on these cars, and we may get that question answered. There's reports of showers around here. We raced back here back in April in a SCCA race, and my buddy Tom Anhorn won it. In turn 1, it was dry. Over the tunnel, it was raining, and in turn 3, it was just damp.
That's what Hal Ellington asked me one time. I was leading the race here, and I crashed going in the 3rd corner over there, and everybody else got slowed down. He said, how in the world does it rain on my car and nobody else?
Well, it did. That's why the next boat catches all the fish. It's the same thing. Rusty trying to get by Michael Walker. Put him a lap down. Now, pit stops are coming.
Mike, we have a situation. There's reports of a light mist on the racetrack right now. This really makes people nervous to make that last stop, whether they should stretch it, and I hope that, it does. If it rains, when you make a stop and somebody else stretches 4 or 5 laps extra and the yellow comes out, you might lose this race by making a stop.
Does the name Dale Jarrett ring a familiar note?
That's what I was just now thinking about. Dale Jarrett is currently showing, 15th, but he's 1 lap down. So I don't know. I think Rusty can make a pit stop, and so can Ernie, and still stay ahead of him. But Buddy brings up an excellent point. Right now we're well over halfway, just about to end this race, and the rain coming in, we're looking at a poker game right now.
Terry Labonte makes a stop, and the pit board is up for Kenny Schrader as well. So Labonte is in as we watch Schrader battle Morgan Shepherd. Now, this is for position. 7th place at stake here. Schrader had a top 5 last week at Dover. And Shepherd was running in the top 5 when he was in the pit.
2 great race car drivers out there. They know it's the 4th position. They don't want to get caught out there right now all sideways and messed up and need to make that pit stop. So I'm sure they're going to probably follow each other until the pit stop. Hope they get in and out and get a little advantage on one or the other.
Mark Martin is on pit road at lap 164.
I think this says a lot right now. Mark Martin, one of the top teams. Everybody's starting to pit right now. So the only guys that are going to get lucky is the guys towards 10th, 15th in the spot. The leaders are getting ready to pit. So
here's Glenn.
Well, Mark Martin has brought his Valvoline Ford in. Steve Neal came over and asked Buddy Barrett when he was going to pit. Buddy told him lap 166. So Steve decided to pit Mark 2 laps earlier so they wouldn't come in at the same time like they did last time they pitted. It's a little bit crowded in here. There is a chassis adjustment on Mark's car. They've been adjusting on it all day, but obviously they haven't yet got it like they want to. 24.7, a little bit slower than normal, but that chassis adjustment held them up.
Brett Bodine made a stop at the same time.
I just watched that pit stop. What I noticed was that the man on the right rear did not really get his chassis adjustment the way he wanted. It looked like his ratchet wasn't working the way he wanted. He went to switch the ratchet back over, and if that ratchet would have got stuck in there, Mark would have had to come in and get it taken out. So that's just what we've seen on the screen.
Now this is a long, odd strategy move by Jack Roush and Mark Martin, and Jack is known for doing that. All right, let's say it rains. You say it rains before everybody else gets gas, and they leave the cars out under caution. Some of them may have to come in, and Mark goes right up to the front of the line. It's a big maybe, but it's a maybe. Here's Rusty Wallace, Jeff Bodine, Darrell Waltrip, and Bobby Labonte on pit road. This would be the last scheduled stop for Rusty, 55 miles an hour.
Here comes Ernie Irvin down pit road right now, so that answers the question. Lead cars are definitely stopping on schedule.
All right, Wallace coming in as Buddy Parrott had passed the word along at lap 166. Glenn?
Well, Rusty Wallace brings the Miller Genuine Draft Ford in for his final pit stop. Again, it will be 4 tires. No chassis adjustment this time. They like the way the car is working right now. Got the right side on it, coming around to the left side. 28 car is also in at this time. I don't believe that anybody's going to be able to catch Rusty Wallace. Let's go back to Randy Pemberton now.
We might have a major lead problem on the 28 car. They believe they may have just recently dropped the cylinder. Yes, this car is definitely sputtering. No question about it. I believe Ernie has lost the cylinder.
Sounded awful when he took off there through Randy's microphone. Ted Musgrave and Jeff Gordon are getting service now at lap 166. Here comes Michael Waltrip in. He's the last car on the lead lap in 8th place. Now, coming back up on the lead lap as these fellows pit will be Mark Martin and Brett Bodine. So we should have 10 cars on the lead lap as Mike Waltrip and Wally Dallenbach pit. Right side tires for Doug Hewitt's crew. Here's Randy.
This crew, we're going to go possibly right side only. Pass and go. Michael is revving the Benzo Pontiac. He is gone. A great gamble, 15-9.
That kind of gamble paid off for Jeff Gordon at Charlotte Motor Speedway. He won the Coke 600. Morgan Shepherd in the pit lane with Ken Schrader. They've been racing along. They're going to pit together, try to get back out and draft up toward the front together again.
That's terrible news about Ernie Irvin. He's done so well all day, and when you lose a cylinder here where you have to depend on the gear changes and everything, coming up to speed, John Andretti in the wall.
Look at the rear end it's like they knocked the track bar off it. It's bouncing back and forth there side to side. We're going to stay green, it looks like.
Yeah, the key right here now.
I don't know. The right front on that car is down. You see a bunch of stuff up under the car. He'll be lucky to make it back in here.
John has been here very few times. Okay, I was just going to say, if he knows there's a cutoff, he's off, and it looks like there'll be no caution.
Let's show you again what happened up in turn 1 to John Andretti driving Billy Hagan's car.
It's outside Michael Waltrip there. The car gets up in the gray there and just washes right out into the wall. Man, he hit hard.
Did a nice job of hanging on to that car. Let's show you again let's look from above. He just pancaked the whole right side of that car.
Oh, when you hit that hard, it generally breaks the panhard bar that lines the rear end up and everything. He was lucky to hold that car straight.
We're at 168 laps. We will stay under green as John Andretti pulls off onto the grass.
Today's exclusive coverage of the UAW-GM Teamwork 500 on CNN is brought to you by Home Life for all your outdoor power equipment, lawn, and garden needs.
30 laps to go. John Andretti's a young fellow with a lot of heart. He really got that car all the way back around to the pits. But let's go now to this battle for 8th place. Ted Musgrave inside of Brett Bodine and Morgan Shepherd. Remember a week ago, Shepherd and Bodine got a lot more than this close together on a couple of occasions. This time, clean pass, no problem. You know, it's when a problem erupts like there was last weekend, it's nice that you can leave the racetrack and leave that problem there.
Well, we talked about that so many times. Drivers are so uptight when they're racing that little things trigger, an emotional response. But that's what makes these guys good. They have the ability to turn on and turn off. So they're not mad at each other right now. They're just racing hard.
That'll move Musgrave up to 8th place. I'll make that 7th. Rick Nash was in 7th, but he has just made a pit stop. Rusty Wallace the leader, Ernie Irvin 2nd, Dale Earnhardt 3rd. 4th is Jeff Gordon. 5th, Mark Martin. 6th is Dale Jarrett. 7th, Ted Musgrave. 8th, Morgan Shepherd. 9th, Brett Bodine. 10th is Kenny Schrader. 11th, Michael Waltrip. And 12th, Harry Gant. Joe Nemechek, Dave Marcus, Rich Bickle on pit road as we follow this battle. And they move around Bobby Labonte. Moving up on Jimmy Hensley and Terry Labonte. Well, Morgan wants Musgrave's spot. Front straightaway. Ooh, traffic.
Those guys just keep switching back and forth there. They go to the 21 car, Morgan Shepherd by Musgrave.
Yeah, that's got to be fun.
Oh, it is fun. Believe me, that's a lot more fun than what Rusty's having right now. Even though he's leading the race, he's out there by himself, and he knows that if he makes a mistake, it's a huge mistake. These guys are racing hard against each other. They're having a ball.
Right, everyone's now made what should be their final pit stop. Roy Allen making that last stop. And we finally get Don Andretti's car rolling toward the garage area after he made it back around, looking around the pit road. Dale Earnhardt has caught Ernie Irvin.
Yeah, and there's not too much that Ernie Irvin can do. You see, he's right behind him now, and him skipping like he is up off that corner is just like he pulled 2 plug wires off. That's about what it amounts to. That car just will not get up to speed like he wants it to. Watch Earnhardt close in now when they accelerate down the short chute here. See how he comes right up on him? It's like no defense whatsoever.
And Ernie knows that he can't do nothing about it. He's running for this championship, and only the 2nd time this year he's had any kind of problem. And he still looks like he's able to, if he can muster top 5 out of it, they ought to be satisfied.
Now, he's right in the slipstream. If he can stay there, that'll pick the speed up a little bit, but you see Earnhardt stretching it out down the straightaway. Oh, that's too bad for Ernie.
So we want to make sure everybody understands that Ernie Irvin has lost the cylinder, and that's the reason he is dropping back here.
Jimmy Hensley makes the final pit stop in the White Rose Collectibles store. And there's Irvin, who will retain a healthy Winston Cup point lead. He came in here with a 163-point lead on Earnhardt. He just gave back 5 of those points with Earnhardt passing him.
Talking about Earnhardt just getting by. Just behind this little booth we're looking at here with Earnhardt getting by the 28 car of Ernie Irvin is Jeff Gordon, and he's breathing hard on the back end of the 28 car now. It won't take him long to catch up and put him another position back.
You know, as slow as Ernie's getting, as you see this aerial view, it's definitely, the 3 car is really pulling him down the straightaway. We'll have to monitor this because the reason he has lost his cylinder, he's either had a plug wire come off, he's broke a rocker arm, and sometimes that can trigger one cylinder to mess up another cylinder. So, hopefully the damage will stay as it is right now and not get worse.
You may have seen them go by Darrell Waltrip there. Waltrip has dropped the cylinder, and he has fallen well back in the running order to 26th place. We asked Darrell Waltrip, what makes the big 4 teams that have won all these races lately so hard to handle?
They've got the best of everything. They got the best drivers, they got the best crews, and they got the best cars, and they're just beating the rest of us real easily right now. Like I keep telling my guys, it's crowded down there where we are, but there's plenty of room at the top, and that's where we're trying to get to.
23 laps to go at Pocono. Bobby Hamilton has thrown the tread off a tire on the Kendall Pontiac going down toward the exit of pit road.
Yeah, a lot of scary things are starting to happen now. Bobby Hamilton has had a problem. We watched, of course, you didn't see it at home, but while we were away at break, Greg Stack's car really almost hit the wall coming off the turn 3. A lot of things are starting to happen right now late in this race.
There's Hamilton, and you see it looks like the left front is down on his car. And they give him a tire change, send him back out. He is 26, 3 laps down. Rusty Wallace with a big lead.
You see Russ letting the car go up a little bit high right now. You see it kind of leads at 19 seconds over the second place car. Rusty not really working that hard to keep the car on the bottom of the track right now. He's letting the tires do what they want to, keeping them cool.
Jeff Gordon is really closing in on Ernie Irvin. When we get back there, the interval's down to about a 20-car length lead from about full straightaway, so he's really getting up close here. You see he's right on the back, and there's not a thing in the world Ernie Irvin can do, but just when he catches him, he'll pull right out and go by him.
Even as we speak. So that drops Irvin back to 4th place. And let's go to Glenn Jarrett, who is in Ernie Irvin's pit.
Well, hey, we understand that you guys have lost the cylinder. What we're wondering about now, we know he slowed a lot, but can he hold on and finish?
Well, you know, we hope that can happen. Of course, nobody knows that as long as they don't lose another cylinder or two. Biggest thing we're doing now, we could come out of here real lucky on this deal. If we don't get a caution and only 10 cars stay on the lead lap, we could be real lucky.
Last thing you want to see is rain or a caution, right?
We do not want to see a caution. We don't want to lose another cylinder.
Okay, you're here from Larry McReynolds.
Greg Sachs is on pit road, and Roy Allen just came limping past. He's dropped a cylinder, so is Darrell Walter. Last stop of the day for Greg Sachs. He's a little off the pit stop sequence of the rest of the lead cars. He's in 23rd position.
You know, I think it's very interesting, even though the 28 car has lost the cylinder, it's not that he's losing so much down the long pond straightaway and the short chute, it's just that the front straightaway is really killing him.
The weather radar shows some severe thunderstorms. Well, actually, our helicopter pilot shows some severe thunderstorms on the way.
Kenny, you touched on something a while ago. Jeff Gordon's probably matured more in 2 years on the Winston Cup circuit than anybody I've ever remembered moving up like he has. He's really a sound race car driver now. Even with problems with the nose of the car, he's doing the best he can with what he has, and he's taking care of the car. He's doing a great job.
19 laps to go here at Pocono, and the rain's moving toward us as rapidly as Rusty is moving toward the finish line. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Pocono. 17 laps from the checkered flag here in the United Auto Workers General Motors Teamwork 500. Rusty Wallace continues to throw a lot of shoulder into that corner, a lot of right shoulder. There's a lot of turning with his upper arm.
I think what's interesting about Rusty, let's watch he does, is he has a characteristic where when he gets ready to shift, he cracks his wrist. That's one of, Rusty always does that. I don't know if he'll do it again, but let's see if he does it. No, he didn't do it this time. There it goes. Yeah. Okay. That's a characteristic of my brother. He's done that for years. It's a fidgety habit. He cracks his wrist. I don't know, to get it loosened up a little bit more, but he has always done that.
As well as that 2 cars working, you can see that's not a stroll in the car. He's working that race car all the way around this racetrack. Everybody says, well, it looks like he's just doing anything he wants to, but a second ago, that elbow was up in the air. He was giving that thing a whipping to his corners. Rusty Wallace never relaxes.
Nope, and never lets up. He may have an 18-second lead, but he's not going to give it away. Ken Musgrave is 1 lap down after that stop for a flat tire. He's presently in 16th position, just ahead of Harry Gant. 12 different leaders, 20 lead changes, and Rusty's lead is expanding. It's Wallace, Earnhardt, Gordon, Irvin, and Mark Martin, the top 5. Dale Jarrett's back on the lead lap. He's 6th. Shepard, Schrader, Brett Bodine, and Michael Waltrip, the top 10. Michael Waltrip 1 lap down. Elliott's 11th. Petty is 12th. Nash 13th. Dallenbach and Strickland, the top 15. Then Musgrave, Gant, Todd Bodine, Terry Labonte, and Jeff Bodine, the top 20. Ricky Rudd's fallen to 21st, ahead of Bobby Labonte, Jeff Burton, Blake Speed, and Greg Sack.
That car we're watching right now is Dale Jarrett. He is running third gear all the way around this racetrack. Now, you talk about a valve train. That's got a good valve train in it because he's having to turn the heck out of that car down the straightaway.
Although this is a team of its own, they are running Hendrick Motorsports engines. They rent those motors out through the year, lease them, I'm not sure, but it is a Hendrick motor in that car.
Darrell Waltrip told me yesterday that fairly soon his team expects to get into a motor lease arrangement with some of the other competitors. It's a good deal for both the team that rents the motors and the team that rents them out. They can try a few things and see how some different components work under race conditions.
Lou LaRosa, who is in charge of Darrell Waltrip's motor program, is a legendary motor builder who won Dale Earnhardt Championship, so looks like they're getting themselves in position to sell some motors.
Mark Martin has caught Ernie Irvin as we watch Dale Earnhardt. Here we are at turn 1. Mark Martin in 5th.
He just got by Ernie Irvin at the end of the straightaway there. That's Dave Marcus, the third car in the group there.
Now Marcus, the guy who never stopped racing. 29 laps down, and he stuck the nose right in there trying to take that corner away. He's another guy who never gives up.
I imagine that's the last thing that Ernie Irvin wanted to see was somebody stick their nose in there and him trying to keep RPM felt up through the corner.
That's right. Irvin will fall to 5th. Goes by. And Irvin, he goes by Greg Sachs. Dale Earnhardt trying to chase down Rusty Wallace. Got a long way to go to get there. Randy Pemberton and Dale Pitt.
Let's see if he's got a quick word with Andy Petrie. Andy, it doesn't look like there's a whole lot of strategy left. What would it be, gas and go, or what are you going to do?
Now, we're okay on gas right now. Yeah, we're just going to go to the end here.
That's all they can do. Rusty Wallace has got a huge, huge lead.
It's just go. And it looks like most of the leaders should be able to make it on fuel from that last stop. 13 to go.
Now, you know what that last sounded like? We got plenty of money, but the banker don't like you.
Yeah, but the bank's not open, right? Plenty of money, the bank's closed. You know, we had a question about how these teams know if they're low on fuel. Of course, they don't have gas gauges because the foam in the fuel cell would prevent the float that runs the gas gauge from moving up and down.
The way it works, Mike, is first of all, you've got to know your fuel cell. In other words, some teams run one fuel cell the whole year because it carries, the maximum gallon is like 23 gallons. So they want to make sure that they carry 23 gallons and that they pick up all 23 gallons. Before the race, they run 10 laps of practice or 5 laps of practice. Then they come in after that and they fill the car up with fuel and they say, okay, we ran 5 laps on this 2-mile racetrack and it took 5 gallons. They figure their fuel mileage out in practice way before the race. And then what happens is during the race, they monitor it. They start each dump can with 11 gallons in each dump can. When the pit stop is over, they make sure how much fuel is in it, and they also have a scale they weigh. There is an art to it, and every team is a little bit different.
Now they weigh the fuel left in the dump can and compare that with a full load and multiply gas mileage from there. 11 laps to go. We'll be right back to Pocono.
Mark's
9 laps to go. Mark Martin has not been able to run away from Ernie Irvin. And here you'll see dramatically how one car can be better than another at different parts of the racetrack.
You hit it on the head right there. The 28 car of Ernie Irvin, he gets through the corner so much faster than Mark. You actually run him down 10 car lengths down through there. Now down the straightaway, you'll see him pull away again. Mark's trying everything in the world. He pulled all the way over the left side. Just you see Dale Jarrett flashing go there. Third gear only. That's got to seem like an eternity getting back up to speed. Now see, he's running Mark Martin all the way down and up the side of him through that corner. Mark's not getting through the corner near as fast as Ernie Irvin is.
Now what's going to be interesting, watch when they come up off of turn 4 to see if Mark has got enough power to run him back down. Ernie's flying through the corner.
37 laps to go. Set that 8 laps to go. Rusty Wallace, the runaway leader. Dale Earnhardt and then these two, or Jeff Gordon and then these two for 4th and 5th.
Now you know, whoa, Mark Martin's loose there.
There was a problem. I think Mark's got a flat
Mark's got
tire.
a right rear tire cut down.
Oh, he's trying to hang on and drive it 8 more laps, but
Whoa, you see a piece of it come off there. The right rear was flat going in the corner.
That's going to be a caution right there.
I wonder, here comes Schrader and Morgan Shepherd. They will pass Mark Martin for position, moving up into 5th and 6th. There's that piece of rubber, but it's way up out of the corner. We'll see what happens here. 7 laps to go. Remember, Ernie Irvin's team has told us they do not want to see a caution.
Here's the yellow.
It's out. Mark Martin may go down a lap as a result of this. And this will set up the classic confrontation. Rusty Wallace in the Ford, Dale Earnhardt in the Chevrolet with about 5 laps to go.
Yeah, it's not going to be a long caution.
And the good part is they don't have to do a whole lot. Just run out and get that piece of rubber off the racetrack and they'll be ready to go again.
Mark Martin, we are told, will not pit. At least not this time. And try to stay on the racetrack.
You know what's interesting here, Mark Martin is running around on his inner liner, which Goodyear has made, and it's making him stay up.
The reason he did that pit road is closed when he come by the first time, so he'll come in the next lap by when the green flag comes out to go in pit road.
Also, buddy, most of the cars are still at racing speed until they come up and catch the pace car. He could easily go down a lap if he stayed on, pace truck, go down a lap if he stayed out. One of our 800 calls, why a pace truck? Because Pocono Raceway said so. Each track selects their own pace vehicle. They could put a Hummer out there if they wanted to. And yesterday, maybe they should have.
Yeah.
Hope that's a 4-wheel drive truck. We needed one yesterday.
You remember in Dover last week, he began to have problems on the restart. He had the step there where the car wasn't going to come back up to speed again. It vapor locked on him. Hope that don't happen to him again, but anything can happen.
Now, here's the big question. Less than 10 laps to go, so they will restart single file, and the lead lap cars get to move up in the order behind the safety car. So, in fact, I think it was Rusty asked the question in the drivers' meeting. He says, does that mean if there's 3 cars on the lead lap, the third place guy could come in, get 4 stickers, and then come all the way up the front of the line to third place? And they said, yes, it does. So who will pit, who will stay out?
You know Mark Martin's coming in. Rusty's coming down pit road.
So Rusty can restart no worse than 8. But here's Earnhardt coming in as well, and Jeff Gordon. So 3 of the lead lap cars. Here's Ernie Irvin, 4. Okay, you know Mark Martin will, that's 5. So staying out on the racetrack among the lead lap cars will be anybody? Where's Schrader? Schrader's in pit road, so's Morgan Shepherd. Brett Bodine is in. Everybody's in. Randy?
Well, I don't think there's any question about what these guys have to do. They got to take on 4 skins. They're on the right-hand side of both Rusty Wallace's car and Dale Earnhardt's car. Left side lug nuts being loosened on the 2 car. Left side all the way around the jack. The 2 cars beat him. It's 2 tires for Earnhardt. He's going to take the gamble. He's down and away. Rusty Wallace is going to take on 4.
Dale Earnhardt drew 2. Rusty Wallace kept 1 hole card and drew 4.
Man alive. Is there any such thing as an easy victory? I don't think so.
I don't either. Shake that wrist, Rusty. You're going to be busy here in a second. 5 laps to go before the restart. Let's take this pause from Pocono. We'll be right back, and you're not going to want to miss it. Here's the story. 5 laps to go, rain closing in fast. They'll get green next time by. But as the cars came around after their pit stops, Jeff Gordon spun off the course into the grass in turn 2. Finally got to the infield grass, finally got it going again, and he'll pick up his restart position. And we'll get ready to go racing. It'll be green this time. Earnhardt's the leader. Wallace is second. Ernie Irvin's up there with Gordon, Morgan Shepherd, Kenny Schrader, Brett Bodine, Mark Martin, Michael Waltrip.
Okay, it's really going to be interesting here. Dale Earnhardt is the only one that has only 2 right sides on that are brand new. His left sides are used. Everybody behind him has got 4 new tires on. We'll have to see just how important this is going to work out.
Kenny Van Earnhardt many a time. One of the toughest guys on the racetrack to get by. And he's got right sides, which are the most important tires. But I think Rusty may have an edge by having 4 fresh tires.
And that's what they thought at Charlotte against Jeff Gordon.
Yeah.
But 4 tires would be the advantage. Now they are moving Jeff Gordon back behind Morgan Shepherd, at least behind Morgan Shepherd, because when he came back up to speed, he should have fallen in the running order and not where he is at present. They got also radio Ernie Irvin to get by him. Irvin just thought that Gordon was going back to his position. Well, we'll see what we do here.
You can see all the mud on Jeff Gordon's left rear tire. That somehow he got into the infield and then mud got stuck in there and took back off.
Looks like we may restart them just the way they are, single file.
There goes your brother doing his wrist again. He must be all ready.
He knows it's showtime.
They're saying caution.
They probably have to sort out this little deal with the 24 car. I'm not sure whether there's rain on the racetrack. That's another question.
Doing a 3 lineup Jeff Gordon. Oh, no safety car. And this is a strange turn of events. Earnhardt trying to keep the tires clean and keep heat in the tires. Boy, the longer they wait, better it is for Earnhardt.
You got that right. I know he's saying right now, I don't care whether they ever restarted again. You know?
Yep. Right, now here's Jeff Gordon. Right now, we're not aware of what indications are being given from the officials to the crews and to the teams. That's how we had the running order. Earnhardt, Rusty Wallace, and on back, we would show Gordon as 8 toward that tail end of the lead lap. And Rusty Wallace, he wanted this race to restart. Now let's see if they'll have to give one to go again or they'll go this time.
That's Buddy Parrott. I don't believe anybody wants to give him a whole bunch of guff right there. He's really hot about this thing not going back to green.
They can't get the sucker lined up right. The damn cars.
Don't see any rain on the windshield of any of those cars from the in-car cameras. And apparently, what is in question right now is that Jeff Gordon spun off the racetrack and stopped. You are not allowed to pass under caution. But if a car loses forward motion, it may be passed, and that's what happened to Jeff Gordon. So when Gordon got going again, he attempted to come back up into the position he was running, which was just before Ernie Irvin. That's where he settled in the line. So now they're trying to get that squared away.
Man.
Well, this is definitely controversial because it has taken away a couple laps.
They need to do something pretty quick here. This thing needs to be solved. They should be back under green.
There's more to it than that, buddy. There are cars on the tail end of the lead lap. Michael Waltrip, Bill Elliott, Wally Dallenbach, Rick Mass, Kyle Petty. That because they're on the tail end of the lead lap and they are lead lap cars, they're being moved ahead of Dale Earnhardt. This is this last 10 lap single file restart rule, and Buddy Parrott doesn't like the way it's being implemented because his car was leading at the time of the caution, and now he is in second place. Buddy's just getting informed that those cars on the tail end of the lead lap will line up ahead of them because though they were on the tail end of the lead lap, came off pit road ahead of Rusty, or what I think is more likely, chose not to pit. That's what sets them at the tail end of the lead lap. This is a fairly new procedure, and it takes some sorting out because these last 10 laps, you restart single file, lead lap cars in the front, everybody else behind, trying to sort it out. Not the way Dale Earnhardt wants to win a race either.
No, I was just fixing to say, these guys like to race for it.
So, 3 laps to go. We may end up here with a 1-lap shootout with tail end of the lead lap cars in front of the race leaders. Not a good time to go mow the lawn, folks.
Okay, the starter does have the green flag in his right hand now, so I would just about guarantee you they're going to drop the green flag this time by.
The light is out on top of the safety truck.
This is pretty phenomenal. I've never seen anything like this before. This is a new rule. We're trying to get it straightened out, but this is going to be wild because there's about 5 cars in front of Dale Earnhardt who are really on the tail end of the lead lap that are not a factor in the race.
And they're racing each other, though. They are racing each other for Michael Waltrip on back. You know, for 8th, 9th, 10th position. All right, pace truck is in. Finally, let's settle this. The green and the white flag will wave simultaneously. They'll race 1 lap.
This is Devil Coyote ugly here, man.
Yeah.
You're just not kidding.
We're kind of quiet here because this is unbelievable.
This is the calm before the storm, folks.
Well, the storm's coming, whether it's rainstorm or what. Earnhardt, Wallace, Gordon, Irvin, Schrader, Shepard, Brett Bodine.
Earnhardt is slow on the start. He cannot pass to the left.
Until the start-finish line. Here they come. All those lead lap cars. Watch Schrader trying to get in it from the outside here.
Jeff Gordon to the inside. Rusty had to make a counter move to the inside. He's up the side run him by.
Jeff Gordon, black flag. Just 3 laps to acknowledge it. Only 1 lap left. And it's Wallace to the front. We'll sweep around. Earnhardt, Wallace down to the inside. Final lap. 2 corners from home. Earnhardt is right there.
Rusty Wallace just answers the question. How deep can you drive a car into number 1? That's as hard as you can make it.
Kenny Schrader is up to the board behind Jeff Gordon. Turn 3. Final corner.
These lap cars are going to play a factor. Let's see what happens.
Big chunk of cars in front of the leader. Earnhardt looks slow. Jeff Gordon looks slower. Oh, Rusty Wallace. 2 in a row. Big crash at turn 3. Little surprise that on this final lap. And I believe it's Wally Dallenbach.
I'll tell you, the key to Rusty's victory there was Jeff Gordon following Rusty. That Chevrolet helped that Ford win the race because Jeff Gordon put his nose up in the rear of that Ford and he drafted right on by Dale Earnhardt.
I think that is the point. But I'll tell you what, Rusty drove so deep down in that corner, he had to make the pass. He had no choice. He couldn't check up. Meanwhile, look at Dallenbach's car. Tremendous damage on the back. I see the net coming down. That's a good sign.
Last time we had one of these nickel restarts, last May at Talladega, 1 lap to go, they dropped the rag and Rusty Wallace turned over.
That's what it's all about. You see Wally Dallenbach, he's rejected because he wrecked on the last lap, but he's okay.
And he had a top 10 car. He had a top 10 finish coming. Last cars on the lead lap crossed the line. Rick Mass, Bill Elliott, Hut Strickland, Michael Waltrip. And Rusty Wallace wins it. Watch the right side of your screen. Ooh. Hard in the wall. Wally Dallenbach. Well, it's over, and hearts can start beating again. And Rusty Wallace, for the 2nd week in a row, will go to victory lane next.